We could get started. So welcome everybody. My name is Erin Anderson. I am an agent here in Keller Williams Legacy Partners in Connecticut. For those of you who were here on the first session, I taught that. So I do see some familiar faces. Glad to see you back. And some new faces, I believe, and names. So today we're going to talk about capturing leads with open houses. I chose this class because I think it's one of the easiest ways to jumpstart your business in real estate. Most agents that have been doing this for a long time, I noticed, don't love doing open houses. They have built up a business where, maybe they have a ton of referrals, they have a lot of repeat clients, and open houses are not at the top of their priority list. And they will very easily offload them. So you post a request, hey, does anybody want me to do an open house for their listing? And they'll take you up on it. It doesn't cost them anything, but it gets the exposure for their sellers, and it makes them look good, right? Having an open house, even if you've had one already, if the house is still sitting on the market, most people will say yes to that. So, I was doing 2 to 5 a week my first year. And it was the easiest way to lead gen. So I'm really excited to dig into that today and talk about how you can really capitalize on that. And I've been a real estate agent for 5 years, licensed, started off as a administrator. I was an executive assistant, director of operations, and then March of 2020 decided to use my license to become a full-time realtor. So I've been doing this now for just about 3 years as an active agent, still very much involved in operations, growth, leadership, training, but I absolutely love being an agent. And like I said, this is really what helped me jumpstart my career when I made that switch. So Gary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sobel. I am the Market Center Administrator in Boston Metro West. I've been the MCA here for 3 years. We got to open up this office 3 years ago. Before that, I was a buyer's agent for a luxury sales team that consisted of 6 people here in the Metro West area. Before that, I was a sole agent in Charlotte, North Carolina, still with Keller Williams. Before that, I worked and I traveled. I was an aero commuter. I traveled all over the world for my job, which was closed captioning for hearing impaired people. So it kind of trained me to listen to people really, really well and listen to what they have to say and remember what they have to say. I love open houses. That's where I've gotten all my business from, moving from state to state. I did not have a big sphere of influence, so I relied on open houses to get all of my business. And that's why I like teaching this open house class.
Awesome. And then we have our tech administrator here. Matthew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Matthew Cadu. I'm out of Keller Williams Southwood Tupper, which is in Fall River, Mass. I've been the MCTT here for almost 3 years. I also help with our productivity program, and we get probably 30% of our deals from open houses. So it's our number 2 lead source for our new agents is just running new houses on open houses for, like you said, for other agents' properties. So even though they don't have their own properties, they do great picking up buyers with other agents.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited to dig into this because it really is, this is probably, like I said, one of the fastest, easiest ways for you to build your pipeline. So congratulations for being on this call. I see we're up to 26 participants. That's exciting. And Matthew, you're just working on letting people in, right? If they show up, cool. All right.
I'm letting them in. I'll watch the chat.
Cool.
I do. Wait, I'm sorry. One question real quick. Are you guys able to see? I thought I had it on slideshow, but I'm having an issue with my computer right now, of course. Are you guys able to see the Ignite screen?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not on slideshow, but it's just there on your, tab.
Okay.
The joys of technology.
I would try closing it out and reopening it. I think it looks like you got signed out of Google for some reason.
All right, so while they figure that out, let's see, we did that. Okay, so today we're going to be covering how to capture leads with open houses, and we're going to go over the benefits of open house, best practices, and look at the prepare, prospect, and pursue model. So you guys spent, let's see, this is session 7, so you've been filling your brains with a lot of really fun stuff. Let's take a minute to talk a little bit about where you are so far in this Ignite series. If your birthday falls in January, can you raise your hand? And I'm going to call on you to share, some thoughts on your progress so far. So does anybody have a birthday in January? Do you have any hands raised? No Januaries. All right. How about, let's go with my birthday month. Do we have any March birthdays in here? Don't be shy. I'll just call on somebody. Adele, you got a March birthday?
Yes, March 8th, yes.
All right, awesome. So have you encountered any challenges so far throughout this Ignite process or Ignite series as you've done some of the success system activities?
Not so much challenges. I've been trying to do everything that we have been taught. It's, put me on the right track. For this year, I wasn't doing a lot of stuff on command. It pushed me to. I did more social media this week. I touched base with a lot of people that I wasn't accepting as friends because I thought I didn't have time for them. But I feel like those should be in my contacts. So challenges, no, just finding the time to put aside because of my other job to do it. But so stuff that I think if I put it in place is gonna it's gonna work.
Good. And how has the feedback been on your social media? Are you getting engagements? Or is it?
Yeah, more than I thought. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I think that's the exciting thing about taking these classes is that, it will feel overwhelming, right? You're basically being shot at with a fire hose of all kinds of best practices and things that you can do and tips and tricks. And so, every day, if you just focus on 1%, 1% growth, getting 1% better, what is one thing you can take away from the entire day and implement that? And then when the next time Ignite comes around, because it comes around regularly, take it again, see what you come up with. Does anybody else want to share maybe a challenge or something that they've encountered as you've been putting some of these things into motion? We need one more. I'm going to pick somebody.
Sure, I'll go.
All right. You just saved the team. Go ahead, William.
No worries. Take one for the team, as they say, right? My name's Will. I actually have 2 brokerages. I have KW Coastal in Rhode Island and Rovey Homes in Massachusetts. And over the past week, I've decided to consolidate with KW. And I'll do that later February, March. So I'm actually focusing more on the systems that are here, Command, the seminar a couple of days ago, and I mean there's so many things to catch up with on this side because I've been focused on the other brokerage, so it's a little bit different. I have a different situation than most folks, but I decided the systems are better, and the exposure is better. I mean, Rover's a great brokerage for what it is in Massachusetts and Connecticut, but I'm going to be a KW all the time, so it's a little bit different circumstance, and I'm looking forward to onboarding with all the details of the systems.
Well, thanks for sharing. I feel like the best part about it is for your agents, right? Like the training and opportunities that are available for them to help them grow. And it's all right here. You don't have to put, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everybody can just plug in and learn from the best, from each other everywhere. It's an awesome network. So thanks for sharing that and welcome. I'm glad you decided to merge your businesses into KW.
Yeah, and I'm planning on getting the recip in Connecticut, and then I'll get one in Florida as well. So over the next couple of months, so I can be everywhere.
Awesome, good for you. Congrats. I wish you much success.
Thank you.
All right, so like I said, today we're going to be covering open houses. We're going to be by the end of the session, we're going to be able to describe the benefits of holding an open house. There's a lot of them. Identifying the best practices for holding an open house, And also, you know, there's some standard best practices and then there's tons of creative things that you can do. But I think the most important thing is to stick to the basics, right? And that's really what this class is about. What are the tried and true steps to take to have the most effective open house and fill your pipeline? And then by the end of this, we also want to give you all the tools to actually be prepared to physically hold the open house. So to start thinking about what you're going to learn today, we're going to consider some questions we might have and what we'd like to learn more about. So if we were in person, I would tell you to turn around and talk to each other. But if we could set up some breakout sessions, maybe 2 to 3 people in a group, and write down the questions that you would most like to have answered today. And then I'm going to ask one person from each group to share, you know, their top 1 or 2 questions or items of interest. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do that.
Are you breaking them into groups?
Do you know how to do it faster than
I
me?
think I can do it automatically.
Okay, cool.
The magic of Matthew. The magic of
I'm gonna
Matthew.
try this. I don't, hopefully everybody can come back.
All right, go for it, guys.
We know where to find you, okay?
All right.
Everybody should have got an invite.
Neat. There we go.
So they can't hear us, but we can hear each other?
I think,
I believe that is the case.
yep, there's still some people in this, oh no, I think, yeah, we still have some people in this room. But I'm kind of assigning out as we go.
All right. Gary, do you want to like switch every couple sections or something?
Well, while I have I don't know that I can see the guide while I have the slideshow up. So I'm only seeing the PowerPoint. I can't pull up.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from you.
Oh, please, no, I could care less. No. I'm trying to just keep up with what you're talking about with the slides.
All right, cool. All right, so we're on we're still on today's agenda slide. Cool. I didn't even check what time it is when I said that.
I was just thinking the same thing. We'll give him another minute.
All right. Okay.
Hey, Matthew, where are you?
Out of Massachusetts, Fall River, about an hour south of Boston.
Oh, you're in Fall River.
Yeah, South Watuppa Market Center.
Watuppa.
Watuppa.
Yeah, I'm licensed in Massachusetts, but I tend to just do Eastern and West, like right on the Connecticut border, you know, within like a half an hour or so. All right, so we want to let them back in?
Yep, well, hopefully you can bring them back.
All right.
It gives them 60 seconds, so they'll be back in 58 seconds.
Okay, cool.
I mean, instead of going to groups, if it takes too long, we could always just put questions in the chat.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is nice for them to always talk to one another, but you know.
All right.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people not joining chats. I mean, the groups.
Yeah, we had about 3 that didn't.
Okay.
breakout rooms let us see who's actually paying attention.
Yeah.
All right, because they have to click a button. All
You have to
right.
click the button.
All right, so I have this thing on my screen. Do I just exit out of it?
Or open all rooms.
Oh, okay. Close all rooms?
Oh yeah, no, we want to keep the rooms closed.
Okay, all right. Oh no, I just restarted the clock.
Just close out that little window.
Okay, all right. All right, hopefully everybody's back. So I'm going to just ask, how many groups did we have, Matt?
7.
Okay. So if each room number 1, could you guys give me your maybe top question or 2 or topics that you would like to have covered today regarding open houses? Whoever wants to be point person for that group.
I think I was group 1. I'm not 100% sure.
All right, go for it.
I'm in the car driving back from dropping my son off from school. So sorry about my camera. It's not on right this second.
Okay.
But I actually do have a good question. So what is the easiest way when you're at an open house to get the contact information that you want, like address and email and birthday? Like, what is the easiest way to get that? Like, I know a sign-in sheet is definitely a tool that you can use, but I've seen in like some open houses that I've shadowed, a lot of people just kind of write their first name on that sign-in sheet and then they don't look at it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will definitely talk about that. I mean, right off the bat, there's raffles, entries. What I like to say, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to answer your question right now. We're going to talk.
I would love if you did.
Right? Okay. But yeah, I have it written down. If for some reason we don't get to this today, I will make sure we come back to this because I have a lot of ideas for that have
Me
worked.
too.
Yeah.
Me
Gary
too.
and I are open house pros. We'll make sure we answer this question.
So I think I was on a group 1 as well. So my other question is like, how do you prepare yourself for the open houses?
Got it.
What
We are
intentions,
We are 100% covering that question today. So thank you. All right, group 2, what's your burning question?
We had a similar one to that first question, just how to deal with like the hesitancy of people signing in and stuff like that. And then another one we had was, is it good to follow up with people who already have an agent?
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times they lie to you, so you have no idea whether or not that's true. Unless they specifically write their agent's name down and you know the right questions to ask to confirm that. Yeah, I mean, you're doing your job for the seller to help sell the house. So we'll go over that. Group 3.
Hi, yeah. So similar questions. I'm a newer agent, so honestly, I'm here for it all. I would like to know everything. I don't know anything of it at all. And then my partner really wants to know what like the best marketing practices would be.
All right. You were 4, group 4.
Alexis or Kaylee? No one? Want to meet? Alexis, you want to go?
Yeah. So we talked about how to talk to people that already have an agent.
Cool.
Okay.
Yep. Got that. I got some good ones for that. Okay. And then group 5. Group 5. If you're talking, you're on mute. No one from group 5?
I was in group 5 for a minute. No one was in there with me.
All right.
But then I jumped out and I got into 7. So
All right.
maybe there wasn't anybody but me.
All right, group 6.
My main question was, I see that it's part of my MLS was messed up, but is I wanted to find other outside agents who had open houses outside of KW so that I can just go in and view them and see what they're doing to attract and really just go out to buyers.
You're saying that you want to see them online, or you want to stop by other open houses that other people
Yeah.
are? Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going in as an agent. I'm just going in as somebody going to view the house. But what I want to do is see how they're setting up things.
Got it.
I've put out there, and I'm sure everybody's seen my request. I've made flyers. I want to shadow. I want to do open houses, and I've gotten no responses. So I figured if I'm not getting a response from KW, then I should just go look to see how others are doing it.
Monica, I have something, I'll talk to you about that later today as well. There's a much better way of going about it than doing flyers and being general. So we'll talk about that as well, because I teach my agents how to do that on onboarding as well.
Good, thank you. And I'm actually planning to be in Massachusetts, so I'm looking forward to working with you.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. Finding. All right, and group 7,
Yeah, I was in group 7.
go for it.
One of the questions we have was like, how do you go about getting leads at an open house that's not yours if you're just like filling in for the person? And then the other question we had was just how to market open houses.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, which is why open houses are so exciting. When you do the open house, those leads are yours. Unless someone's paying you to be there and they're taking the leads, which I've never had anybody ask for, those are all yours. So, that's why I love this class, because, all the leads come to you, right? Instead of having to spend all your time finding people to sell to, they walk through the front door.
Can I just interject one thing?
Yeah.
So I find that to be typically the case. However, I do notice that some of the older agents that may have transferred from other companies with different culture than what we have, it might be good when you're doing an open house for somebody else's listing to upfront talk about how the leads are being split. So there's no hard feelings. There's no like, oh, I didn't know I had to give you X. It's just better to talk about it ahead of time. And we could talk about that later about doing open houses for other people, how to find them within KW, within your office, and how to make sure it's nice and smooth.
Yeah, great point, Gary, because I've never experienced anything other than that. So I didn't even think about what other companies might be doing.
Yeah, it's not typically it's not KW. It's when other companies, the other agents come from other companies, and they're like, oh, well, what do you mean you want to do my open house? They're of the mindset that it's mine, nobody's going to touch it, as opposed to the mindset of let's all work together, win-win for everybody.
Got it. All right.
I
So
actually lied, there were 8 groups because I deleted 5.
okay. All right, group 8, what do you have?
Hi, I'm Judy. I just spoke with Jerry from Leading Edge Real Estate in Rhode Island. So by the time we finished introducing and talking a little, we really didn't have a question per se. Jerry just explained he was like totally new to the business. I think he said 3 months. I just told him where I had come from, so we didn't really come up with a question. Sorry.
Do you have one? Do you have anything on the top of your mind that you'd want to know about?
Well, I've hosted a lot of open houses, so I'm just taking everything else in that I hear today.
Awesome. All right. So next slide. Thanks everybody for sharing. I'm excited to get through all this stuff with you today. So, oh, not that one, the one with the quote, unless I missed one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, is it not on there?
Am I missing
right,
something?
Huh. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, hold on.
Nope.
Oh, wait, you're too, wait, are you too far ahead?
I'm going backwards.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's it. Oh, yep, right there. All right. Let's see. Douglas, would you read the quote on the screen?
Nothing else about your nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have.
Yes. So what does that mean to you?
What's your number one
it
job,
all
everybody?
comes down to your contact list and however you build funnels to create leads and
Yeah,
capture them.
right. Like you're going to learn all these things that you can do, right? You're going to take all these classes, you're going to hear the things, you're going to see stuff on the internet, you're going to, send this to your clients or to people, door knock, do all the stuff, right? But nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. And this slide is here for the open house because this is probably one of the fastest ways for you guys, if you really plug into it, to build that pipeline and generate leads. So why do we begin this session on open house with this quote? Again, like I said, your number one job is to gain leads. It's the way that you impact. Open houses are the ways that one of the best ways to impact the number of leads that you have, especially if you're somebody who is new to an area, right? That's what Gary was just saying. I mean, moving from one place to another, it doesn't matter if you don't know anybody yet, and walking in the door, they have no idea who you are. They're probably not going to ask you questions about how long you've been doing something. They're just assuming if you're a professional at an open house, you know what you're doing, right? And that's the sort of the perception most people have when you're just doing a general open house. And the purpose of the open house is sell the house. That would be the best case scenario, and capture leads. So as a new agent, open houses are easy, fun, and a very low cost way to find buyers. Your goal in holding an open house is not only to sell the home, meet people, it's to put yourself in the path of opportunity. The business opportunity to meet people, add to your database, and set appointments, especially with interested buyers. For many agents, holding an open house is their number one strategy to build a strong business, and it can be yours too. Follow a proven model, and buyers and sellers will come to you. Other visitors may not be actively looking to buy or sell. Nevertheless, a memorable and favorable impression can generate referrals now and business further down the road. So since we're talking about open houses today, it's important to know before engaging in an in-person activity, you have to consult your jurisdiction's rules regarding COVID precautions, contact your local realtor association for best practices. So that was super relevant when we were doing them like in the thick of COVID. And there are still some lingering best practices throughout different states and areas. So I think this is a good opportunity for Gary to step in, and it says we want to provide some examples of our experience hosting open houses. So Gary, I'll let you go first and then I'll chime in as well, but can you give an example of a great open house experience that you had?
So how about, what I find is if you do a little legwork and things are handed to you, you can really become very knowledgeable. So going through MLS, you could find out about an area that you're doing an open house at. And you don't need to do your own open house. You do anyone in your office, as long as they're amenable to it. And you'd find it through MLS of what listings, and you specifically ask that agent to hold the open house and have the conversation up front, like, hey, anybody that comes in with an agent, I am going to let you know who they were and their agent at the end of the day. I'm going to take all of the non-represented, and it kind of sets off like a really good tone. And then if you know a couple of fun things about the neighborhood where you're hosting it, it really makes it more of a social, like a little social, where people are not so on their guard. If you have a nice conversation with them, if you know a couple of things that you can say, hey, did you notice the park down the street? And so the good experiences that I've had have been when I'm not like pounding them over the head to buy the house, or I am not following them from room to room. I have my game plan. I pick one or two items in the house that I want to talk about. I make sure those people have seen it, kind of just chat and follow up. And I'd like to follow up very uniquely. Here's where it's very subjective, very creative. And it's 2023 now, like it or not, there's all these fun things that KW has given us to make you and the home stand out. So if you use a little bit of the tools, for example, you make a landing page that will negate anybody having to sign in and give false information, because a landing page will have all the information about the house. To get the landing page, they put in their contact and it goes right to their phone. So they have an online brochure of the home as opposed to a printed. That's so just showing some of the ways that real estate has changed, I find to be a lot of fun in the open house area, as opposed to, okay, I'm putting balloons out, who's coming by, you know? No, there's all these fun things you could do ahead of time.
Right.
Gary?
So Gary, are you saying, the landing page, you're talking about the using QR, oh my God.
QR code, correct, for each.
Only on my second cup of coffee.
Yes, so what you could do is
QR
you can,
codes.
right, so you'd make a landing page for the property that you're doing the open house, and your MCTT can help you learn how to do that. This way, all the information on the house is on its own website, and you have a QR code and a frame by the door, and people will take their phone out, click it. That's where the brochures are. It's no longer handing me a brochure and printing, so it costs less. It automatically will drop people into your command contacts. So they're already in your system, because it's all about leads. And what is it, 201, you know, what was it, 201?
201.
Yeah. So you get it that way, and it's much simpler. It takes a minute to learn how to do it, but that's what your MCTT is for, to make an appointment with them and show them have them show you how to do a landing page. Much quicker, easier, and it's really kind of cool because people think you are on the cutting edge. And like I said, if you know one or two things about the area, and you can get that from MLS, like, you know, what's the average sales price? How long do homes last on the market? You know, something, and you pull all the stats from MLS, you really come across as the economist that they would want to hire to make such a real estate purchase.
Thank you for sharing that.
May I add?
Gary?
Yes.
I'm
So
sorry.
what you're saying essentially is using the, what was that page name again?
Landing page.
Landing page,
Mhm.
as opposed to a sign-in sheet.
Correct.
Okay. One in lieu of the other.
I'm sorry?
One in lieu of the other.
Right, this way the landing page and the QR code, so they'll scan the QR code, it'll take them to the landing page, it will have all the information on the home. When they do that, it also drops them into your command, because it's attached, because you're doing it through command.
Okay, so do they have to enter their name, address, their name and phone number?
It's
or-
all subjective, it's what you want to put in. You can make it as, I find the quickest way to get them through would be name, email, phone number, who is your realtor? And if they don't put and if they leave realtor's name blank, then they're up for grabs. You know, until they tell you that they're working with somebody else.
All right. So I definitely love technology. I also always have a backup plan. So what works for me is a little bit different, and it's not as technology savvy. So for those of you who maybe are nervous about that, I'm going to share my strategy with you as well. So somebody had asked the question about, you know, what do you do if somebody's working with an agent? Having been in sales for 20 years and getting so many phone calls like we do all the time, where you just kind of say, I'm all set, thanks, because you're still in that shopping mode. You're not ready to make a decision and you don't want to commit to everybody. I found that a lot of people lie and just say they're working with an agent. And so what I learned to do is number one, I'm just going to take a step back and talk about real quick, like my protocol for doing open houses is I call the agent before the open house and I let them sell me the house. So that would look like, hey, you know, Julie, I'm going to be doing your open house for you Sunday from 12 to 2. And I just wanted to give you a call and have you give me the rundown on the property, because there are a lot of things about the home that may not even be in the description. Obviously, I'm going to read the description. I'm going to learn about the house. I take the MLS full, you know, look at the disclosures. How old is everything? You know, then when people walk in the door, there's like a general list of things they want to know. How old are the mechanicals? How old's the roof? You know, the more you do it, the more you'll hear those common questions. But Let the agent sell you the home. Let them tell you why someone should buy that house, and then take notes and remember those things. And then when you get to the open house, what I have found works best for me is I pull them in. I say, hey, welcome to my open house. Do me a favor, sign in here for me. If you're working with an agent, feel free to put their information down. I just have to have a record of everybody that came through the house. And when you're done with that, I'm going to give you the lowdown on the home, and then you can check it out, and we can answer. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. And so they fill out my sheet, whether or not it's 100% accurate, but they fill it out, and I do a separate sign-in sheet for each person. So mine, which I can't screen share, but it looks like this. It's the first question is, are you working with an agent? Yes or no, and the agent's name. And I do that because if 5 people walk through the door and I'm giving them each a sign-in sheet, and I'm just looking like, okay, I'm going to focus on the people who said no first. If I have to pick somebody to talk to so I don't lose anyone, I'm going to focus on that, right? And then I kind of get everybody together, or I do it one-on-one, and I say, all right, so let me tell you a little bit about the house to answer any questions before you start walking around. And I point out the selling features. The roof's only 2 years old, the mechanicals are brand new, whatever the things are, right? And then I also point out some things I know they're probably going to see on their tour or looking around, there is a stain on the ceiling in the upstairs. It's from an old roof leak, which is why they had the roof replaced, but they just never fixed the stain. Like, talk about the stuff that you may not catch them to explain while they're on the tour. And if I know they're working with an agent, then my spiel is a little bit different. I say, oh, welcome to the open house. I see you're working with an agent. Did your agent give you all the information about the property, the disclosures, the MLS information? And a lot of times they say no. And then I act surprised. Oh, they didn't give that to you? Oh, okay. Well, let me explain some things to you. And then I step in as the professional, right? So, that is kind of how I talk to people that are working with an agent. I'm planting the seed that I could be the preferred professional if they don't love their agent, or if they haven't signed anything. And then, we can talk about how that conversation goes at the end of the open house. But I have a lot of success with this. So it's agent, are you working with an agent? It's their contact information. And then do you need to sell your home? What are your real estate goals? Check all that apply. Price range, pre-approved for a mortgage. People that are working with an agent don't fill all of this out. I have a pretty good idea if they're with them or not, right? The people that aren't working with an agent or are kind of working with an agent, they usually fill out the whole thing because they need help. All right, and maybe no one's asked them this stuff. So I'm happy to share that with you guys if you want it.
I would love a copy of that.
Yeah, it's like I've sort of been.
Yes, I would love.
All right, cool. I'll try to get that out.
I want to do the QR codes and the landing page, but I found that I did an open house for someone, and the person didn't have a phone. They had, the state phone. They didn't have it where they can take a picture. So that would be a nice backup.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have both. You're going to catch your tech savvy people at the front door, and then you're going to get the ones who, maybe they lied. Maybe they said they filled it out, but they put fake information. And then after meeting with you, you're having a good conversation with them. You don't want to call them out. And you might just say, because I've done this before too, I say, hey, I know you probably filled out that QR code out front, but I have just a little bit extra information here that will help me help you if we're going to work together. And then they usually fill out the right information on here. So we always want to begin with checking in on our mindset. If we want to go to the next slide. In day 1, you guys were introduced to the 6 personal perspectives, specifically removing your limiting beliefs. However, you may have been having some limiting beliefs around open houses, which I can tell from the questions that you guys had. Those things are probably in the back of your mind. Does anybody have a specific limiting belief around holding open houses that they want to share?
I do.
All right, go for it.
I used to have a limiting belief that people just came to look at houses because there was nothing better to do, and they weren't real buyers, and you never sold to anybody at an open house. It was just more of something you had to do. And that's not true at all.
definitely not true.
People are not going there for fun. It is not a fun thing anymore. You know, it's not like, oh, I have nothing to do. Let's go look at houses. I mean, it doesn't really happen like that. Typically, these people are somewhere in the real estate realm waiting for us to pluck them and either sell them a house or sell their house or something. There's
Right.
some reason why they're there.
Right. And even the nosy neighbors, which, you know, you may hear people say like, oh, it's just the nosy neighbors. They're not going to really do anything. They just want to check out the house. Usually those are the people that are seeing what their competition is because they want to list, right? Or they're curious. They're really going to get that much money for their home. Well, my house is better. Cool. Have that conversation and turn that into a listing. Any other limiting beliefs around open houses?
I actually have a good one.
Sure.
That I kind of realized that when we were at the KW Thrive event, they discussed it, which was everybody wants to run open houses on like the newest house on the market. And when I push my new people to like the older houses, sometimes they're like, well, the house has been on the market, 30 days, 40 days. But they made a good point that the longer the house is on the market, you're more likely to get unrepresented buyers. Because the people who are coming and look at a house that's been on the market for 45 days probably don't have an agent sending them, the current hottest listings. So it's kind of a good like, we should go back to the older houses, not the newest house.
Right. And honestly, the best thing to do if you can get the listing agent to agree to it is if you have a house that's been on the market for a long time and it's not yours, suggest a small price reduction because it actually will notify people. It will sometimes alert somebody, hey, the house that you had favorited a month ago just had a price reduction, even if it's $500, something little, right? And that can increase activity at the open house. It's a way to maximize on your time spent. So, I've done it for $100 and it's, it sparked some interest because people are like, oh, that house is still on the market. I didn't even realize it, right? Because the longer it sits there, the lower on the list it goes. If you have an unrepresented person that's just scrolling through Zillow or Realtor, they're not seeing that it's still available because they just usually focus on the top, 5 to 10 new properties that are on the list.
If I may chime in.
Sure.
Regarding Gary's QR landing page, I'm a green realtor. I get certified under NAR for green. Another selling point of the landing page is it's more environmentally friendly for one thing. No paper. Not that paper is bad. I'm just saying in that circumstance, having a backup is a great thing to have. The other thing is when weather's really bad, make sure you go, because the people that are actually going out in that weather are really involved in the buying process.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
all.
Oh, yeah. Funny story. When you talk about the best open house or like a good open house story, I did just that. There was a snowstorm coming in the beginning of my open house. And I was like, I really don't want to go to an open house in the middle of a snowstorm, not so much because I didn't want to work, but because I don't want to drive in the snow 2 hours later after it's been bad. And an hour into the open house and snow, someone showed up unrepresented because they drove from a distance. They really wanted to buy the house. I sold them that house and I sold the house that they currently lived in. And they were the only people that showed up, and obviously they were very serious, and it was to their benefit that they showed up because they didn't have any competition. And and there's no way to tell people, right? Like that's the thing. You can cancel it. You can cancel the open house at the last minute on a website, but people already planned on going. They've already put it on their calendar. They made arrangements in their life to go. I did get stuck in the driveway at that open house. My husband had to drive out and rescue me and dig my car out because I parked in I don't know what I parked in, but like it was, I think like frozen mud or something like that. It was a nightmare, but I made like 20 grand. So it was worth it.
Awesome.
Can I say something? Can I chime in for a minute?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Janice Green. I don't respond much because I've been on Ignite a gazillion times, seasoned agent of 18 years, but I learned something every single time. But the way I got started in the business, like you, was open houses. The other thing about open house is the advertisement that you get and the exposure from putting your signs out all around town. Mm-hmm. Everybody sees your name when you put them strategically. I also will do an open house for 1 hour. And I will do them 7 days a week to be able to put my signs out so everybody sees Janice Green everywhere they go. So that's just a suggestion.
Clever, I love it. Right, like it doesn't really matter what the time, well, we'll talk about timing, but 1 hour, 2 hours. The only benefit to stretching it out is if it is a busy open house, you can spread yourself out further, creates more opportunity. But if you do it at a great peak time where you're going to get a lot of activity, doing just 1 hour is better than no open house at all. And it allows you to make the most of your time. So thank you very much, Janice, for sharing. And if you don't have open house signs, they're really easy to do. Just don't make the mistake of when you order them, make sure the arrows are pointing in the same direction, because the first time I ordered them, they were pointing in opposite directions, and obviously I could not use that. So don't do that. So some other limiting beliefs that you may have and not want to share are, I don't have a listing to hold an open house. Obviously that's an easy one to solve, right? You can reach out to your market center. You can, post on social media, you can make phone calls. Even if there's no open house, go to the list of, one thing I did was I would go to the MLS and pull up a list of houses that have been on the market over 30 days and just call the agent and ask, hey, could I conduct an open house for you? There doesn't have to be one already scheduled to fill in. You can make the calls, you can do the due diligence to encourage someone to do it. If I had a listing on the market over 30 days and one of you guys called me and said, hey, could I conduct an open house? Yeah, it's an easy yes for me if someone wants to do it. I just might not have the time to do it. And so, because I've got a bunch of listings and other appointments and things happening. So, the problem that we've had during, the peak of the market was stuff just didn't last long enough. But that also is a limiting belief. You can conduct an open house in day 1, day 2, right? Doesn't have to be the typical, 1 week on the market or a weekend day. So people were starting to get creative when they realized that they were missing that lead opportunity. Another one, they don't have signs yet, borrow them. It doesn't matter if your name is not on it. When I screwed up my signs and I was all excited they were coming in the mail and I had an open house lined up, and I realized that I was an idiot. I borrowed someone else's open house signs, and it was a dude. Like it was a guy in his picture, but I was the one at the open house. So it didn't matter to me. Just, the most important thing is that you show up and you do what you're supposed to do. I may not know the answers to questions visitors have. So that's okay. Listen, when you're showing houses anyway, as an agent, you're not going to have all the answers, but that's the easiest thing. That's a great question that I don't know the answer to. Let me ask the sellers and get back to you. It's another reason to get their information. How do you get back to them if you don't have their phone number and their name, right? And they're going to give you the accurate information if they want the answer to your question. But you should do your due diligence and learn about the property. So get there early, walk through the house, know, where the rooms are, look for any potential issues, understand the neighborhood. If the agent does a good job of writing up a description on the house, make sure you read it, right? Because your people walking through the door are going to have read that description. So you better know what it says. Open houses don't really work because most people look online. Yes, people shop online first, but if somebody think about your life, right? How busy your life is. And if you see a house on the market that you're interested in, and your agent can get you into it if you're working with an agent, or if you don't have an agent, you're going to go look, you're going to walk through the door. You're going to want to drive out there and look at the open house. And the people that walk through the door at open houses, in my opinion, are the most serious, right? And they will walk through the door. I've never had an open house where I didn't have at least one person. Maybe some people have had that experience. I never have, because I put in the work to make sure someone shows up. And if, by the way, if they don't show up, I did just conduct an open house this past weekend and only one person showed up. It was for a rental property that I have, and I actually met with her and got her the apartment. So I dual-sided it, which was great. And for the rest of the 2 hours, I worked. So worst case scenario, you use that 2 hours to do more lead generation, make phone calls, do a Facebook Live video, show people that you're actively working in your profession and it's not a waste of time, right? So make sure that you use your time wisely. I won't feel safe. So that is a valid point. We are going to cover safety during this session today. So we will address that, but there's so many things you can do. You can buddy up with somebody. You know, typically when I get to an open house, I open the door and I lock the door behind me and I get ready for it. And I don't unlock that door until the first guest comes. So I'm kind of like standing by the front door, waiting for cars to come. And then that's when I would unlock the door. And, you know, like we'll go into that in another slide of all the different things you can do. So we'll address that. So there is a reference to your participant guide. I don't have it in front of me. Should every house be held open? Under what circumstances would you not recommend holding an open house? So I think in the participant guide, it might ask you to brainstorm some ideas on this. I don't know, but I'm going to discuss them. So the sellers, the only times that we would not want to maybe conduct an open house would be if the sellers specifically do not agree to have an open house. And I would make sure you dig really deep on why, right? So if you're the listing agent and you're recommending an open house, get a good understanding of why your sellers would say no. You know, maybe they have a lot of valuables. They don't want people walking through the house. And the objection to overcome on that would say, well, then we'll have them wait outside until it's their turn. I'll lock the door. Or I'll take everybody around, bring them out, and then one person can come in at a time. Or you can have you can have several people. If you're in a group, I mean, all of you are begging to do open houses. I would recommend maybe doing them together. I did that as well. I had a huge open house. I mean, I had a huge house I had to do an open house for. And so I brought 3 other agents with me and we rotated on the leads and we each just took people around so that there weren't people wandering around aimlessly in the house without some kind of supervision because we couldn't see them all. Some sellers may not be agreeable to decluttering, cleaning up, sanitizing, etc., so the house may not show well. That is also a possibility, although again, something that you can overcome. I mean, it could be the reason why the house is still on the market if it doesn't show well, right? But maybe there's tenants in there or the sellers don't have full control or they don't have the ability to clean up. Maybe you offer to do it. Hey, how about this? I'll come a half an hour early to the open house and I will get your house open house ready. You know, so that could be a way to overcome that objection. When it's not necessary to show, for example, in a seller's market, when there are immediate multiple offers on a house. So that's what I was referencing before. If you have a house and you know your market well and it's going to go live and you think it's going to go under contract in a day or two, do the open house on day one. Right? You still want to capture those leads. And that is fantastic, right? It gives you an opportunity to potentially dual side it too. If an unrepresented buyer walks in, that's always the best case scenario if it's your own listing, if you're comfortable with it. Some of your market centers may not allow you to dual side properties. I don't know. I think there's some rules around that in other states, but I know in Connecticut, we're allowed to.
Can I jump in with one more thing? So we are having homes sell very quickly. And open houses are a great way to capture leads. So what I've been seeing a lot of my agents do is they're doing a commuter open house on Friday afternoon because the house goes on the market on Wednesday to give all the secondary markets time to get the feed and all that. And, you know, people start calling and you're getting the sense that it's going to go real quickly. You know, a commuter open house is also a good way because people will find that. And a lot of commuter open house people are not represented. And it's just like an hour and a half as well on a, excuse me, Thursday or Friday afternoon, 5 to 6, 4:30 to 5:30, 4:30 to 6. And it's just another way of trying to find people and get people to get their contacts.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. I mean, and I think that goes.
May be a little slow, but I've never heard the term commuter commuter open house.
I've been hearing that term, I'd say for the past year or so.
Well, I've
maybe it
been
was-
out, I was on medical leave, but what I meant was, can you explain what you mean by commuter open house?
Right, so it's the same thing as a public open house, but you alter the date and time. So instead of a Saturday at 12 till 2 or 12 to 1:30, you're doing it when people are commuting home.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, it's not gonna be every house will be a good candidate for a commuter
Right.
open house. But a
Thank
lot
you.
of, in the Metro West area where it's busy to begin with, you can get the people that are gonna be driving by that town anyway. And you just kind of, it's another opportunity. We've had agents here where their commuter open houses were where they got the client that wound up buying the house. And you will get people that will come in, and it kind of, a good thing is you do get a lot of people that for whatever reason can't make it on the weekend. It's a totally different crowd.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All
But
right.
again, the key is, I'm sorry. The key
No,
is,
no.
make sure you put it in MLS. And MLS is obviously for the people that have agents, but from MLS, and how it kind of disseminates to all the other fields, to all the other secondary markets. You want to make sure you've given it enough time that the unrepresented buyers are notified through however they're looking. If they're looking at realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, whatever it is, you want to make sure that it's in long enough that the non-represented buyers will see it.
Okay.
All right, so I just remembered something I need to tell you about before it leaves my brain again. I found this really cool, and maybe everyone knows about this and I'm late to the party, but I found this really cool whiteboard tape. It's like duct tape, and but you can dry erase on it, and you put it on your signs, and so that you don't have to, if you're going to put your signs out early like you're supposed to, and it's going to be a commuter open house, which is not your standard typical open house time, you can write on the sign, Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m. or sorry, 5 to 7 p.m. or something like that. And you put your signs out ahead of time, and then you can erase that, and you can do it for your next open house. Because open house signs are only good to put out ahead of time if they tell you the time and day. Right? If you put open house and you point everything to your listing, and it's Friday and the open house isn't until Sunday, your sellers might be a little bit annoyed if people are like, oh, is there an open house here? Because I did that. Again, the best thing you can do is learn from the mistakes of other people. Everyone said, put your open house signs out, a couple days in advance. And I didn't really think about how that would play out. I was just, like, cool, they're going to see online that there's an open house Sunday, but not everybody goes online. They just see a sign and go, like, let's go look at this house that's happening right now. Right. So buy the tape. It's on Amazon. It's not that expensive. And you can put that on your signs if you want to. That way you don't have to have multiple signs for multiple times.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we know that the two main goals for open houses are to sell houses and generate leads. Who would you say the open house benefits? We are on the slide before that, whoever just changed that.
Me. Sorry.
Okay, all right, cool. So who does the open house benefit? Sellers, obviously, because it shows the house, gets exposure, hopefully finds a buyer through the open house. And it's high exposure for that property. The buyers benefit because they get to see the house without obligation, without being qualified. They don't have to, when you inquire online, agents are trained to ask you if you're qualified. Are you working with a lender? And they may not show you the property if you're not qualified. So it's a way for buyers to be able to kind of casually browse and physically get inside without committing to an agent. The NAR statistics say that 51% of buyers research properties through open houses. That is crazy. So if you are not conducting open houses, you're potentially missing out on 50%, 51%. So the majority of buyers in any market are showing up at open houses, which is that's why I love this class. All right. They benefit neighbors because they get to see how their homes compare to the listed house in price and condition. So that's the nosy neighbor, right? You want to know if they live in the area, and that is where your appointments come from most often, right? So when you hear people talk about, your goals at an open house are to generate leads, potentially sell the property, and set appointments, that's really what they're referring to. And I've left an open house and gone to the house down the street, right? So if you engage in conversation, they're typically the most eager to talk to you, in my experience. The unrepresented buyers and the neighbors. The neighbors are going to tell you, you got to be careful, don't let them eat up all of your time and miss out on other buyers. But the neighbors are the ones that are going to tell you some very interesting things about the house. Oh, I was here when they had a fire outside, or like, all the things that you wouldn't ever hear otherwise. And you can convert that into an appointment. Like if they're talking about potentially selling their house and they're just checking it out. Hey, listen, how about this? When I leave here, I can swing by and you can show me around your home, and then I can put together a market analysis for you and tell you what your home is worth, the market value of your home. And they've said, yeah, that's cool. Stop on over. Or not today, but can you come back on Thursday? Or, you can play that conversation out. And then obviously it benefits you as the agent, because you're going to capture leads of potential buyers, sellers, future buyers and sellers, connect with neighbors prior to the event. So it's a great opportunity for you to door knock and invite them to come and see the property. Ask them if they know anybody who's interested in moving into the neighborhood. You can place signs with your name on it throughout the neighborhood, like Janice was sharing with us. Use that as an opportunity for people to see your face and your name. And being the agent that is all over town, it gives you the appearance of being busy, even if you don't have any clients yet, right? They don't know that. Practice conversations, answer questions, provide value. So open houses are a great opportunity to practice your skill. And people are going to give you their contact information because they have to, whether or not you say the right things or do the right things. Like if you just make it part of your process from the beginning, you're going to capture leads, and you're going to learn from each thing. I mean, I've been doing open houses now for a few years, and my first few were probably not the best, but I captured leads off of it, and every time I got better and better and better, and I learned how to manage them. So they're great for prospecting based and marketing based leads. So you should be marketing prior to your open house, and you're marketing yourself during your open house. Gary, do you have anything to add on the stuff that I just talked about?
Yeah, so capturing the lead, like you guys were saying, is really difficult sometimes when they'll put false information or they'll scribble something. Excuse me. What I wound up doing in the beginning was I had like a little spiel. And what I did was I'd have them come in, sign, hand them a brochure, and I didn't follow them around. I would kind of tell them, hey, take a look around. I'll come find you, answer any questions. The last thing I hated was when people would follow me around, so I'm not going to follow you around. So then, I'd hand them a brochure. They would walk away. As they would walk away, I would look at their sign-in sheet, make sure I could read it, see if they wrote down if they had an agent, or see where, if they did not have an agent, I would have like a different spiel than if they did have an agent. But this way I kind of would look at their sign-in, and like I said, I always knew something about the house that I would want people to see. So I would go find them later on while they were walking around. I wouldn't like rush to them. I would casually walk up and say, oh, while you're up here, make sure you saw the ceramic bathtub or something. Just kind of making sure they got to see that, and say, I also noticed you're not working with an agent. Can I just ask you a question? So I know where to put my advertising dollars. How did you find out about my open house? And it was like always the same thing. And it was like, oh, realtor.com or Zillow or whatever. And I'd always go, oh, okay. And I would just like stop and like, what? And I would say, well, the best way to find out about an open house is get notified through the multiple listing service. And I would kind of get them to talk more about how they're finding things and what can I do for them and how I could put them into MLS so they'll be notified of open houses. But it was more of a secondary set of questions, let them sign in, let me see what information I can get from their sign-in sheet, and then go talk to them about something to make sure they were seeing something. And then, oh, by the way, I noticed you, blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of like a 2-bite at the apple thing. Obviously, if you're working a humongously busy open house, you really can't do that. But this really helped me narrow down who I was calling, and I wound up getting a smaller amount of wasted names. Like, you know, they would scribble it in like, oh, I'm really sorry, I just can't read that. What is this 5273? You know, let them lie to your face again. But meanwhile, I'm trying every way I can to get an orderly list of who I'm calling and who I'm passing on to the listing agent.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that I was just looking for, but I don't have any left over from my open house, was I have the sign-in sheet in the beginning, and then again, you can turn this digital if you want to, but I have a feedback form. And what I say to them in the beginning when they stop in is I say, you know, fill out this form. I have to have you sign in. And then I give them my spiel about going to look at the house. And then I end it with, when you're done looking around the home, and I used to give them clipboards. I lost them all. And so I stopped. I should buy some more, but you can have a clipboard that you give to them with your feedback form, so that it forces them to come back to you afterwards and hand it back to you, because they don't want to walk out the house with a clipboard in their hands and pen. But it would be really helpful if you could fill out this feedback form for the sellers. And it asks about curb appeal, like how does the house show? What's your favorite feature? What do you think of the price? And if, I forget, the question says something like, at what price would you consider buying this house? Right? And it's kind of, it's funny because people will write all kinds of things in there. But it gave me a reason to check in with them again at the end, so that I didn't miss them. So they didn't just walk out the door without me connecting with them. And sometimes there would be a line at the end of people waiting to give me their forms, which was cool, because otherwise, if they saw that I was engaging with conversation with somebody, they may just walk out. So the more that you do these open houses, and you're going to miss some opportunities, you start to come up with some things that work to capture that. Somebody asked on here, what do you say when an open house goes under contract before the open house? I just say that we're accepting backup offers. You know, so, you know, I'm really sorry that so currently the property is under contract. It just went under contract. However, the sellers are accepting backup offers. So let me know if you have an interest in the property. And if it does stick with the current buyer, I'm happy to help you find something else similar.
I would say something similar as well. I typically would say, you know, it was such a last minute thing. They accepted an offer at the last minute that there was no way we can get it out to the public. So we're doing this so nobody would show up to an empty house. And did your agent tell you that it was already under contract?
Yeah.
And when they say, oh, well, we don't have an agent, ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they say, oh, well, our agent didn't call us, one word. Oh. Right?
Right.
You know, but we have that happens all the time. You know, we set up, as an agent, we set up our marketing and everything. We'll do it on Wednesday and Thursday. Saturday is the open house. Friday night, they accept an offer. It's too late to pull the plug. So you do it. And you just you just go in and knowing that, okay, hey, I'm really sorry. They accepted an offer late last night. Nothing I could have done. Did your agent not tell you this morning that it went under contract? Oh, I don't have an agent. Again, this is the conversation. And if I could just jump in, Brianna asked, can I elaborate why MLS should be preferable to Zillow or anything else? Well, MLS, you can cyber stalk. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but you can see when you put your clients in MLS and they are on a search, you could see when they're looking at properties, you could see what properties they've clicked on more than once. So you can kind of get your head into what they're looking at. So MLS is a way for you to look in the backside of it and say, oh, hey, Bob, I saw, a house just came on the market today and I want you to make sure you saw it. Meanwhile, you know that he already clicked on it 3 times. So he thinks your head is with him and you guys are on the same page. And you can see, what they're looking at and what they're clicking over and over and over and have not mentioned to you. If they're clicking on something 3, 4, 5 times, why aren't you going to look at the house in person? So it's a good way of watching what people are looking at. And if you don't know how to do that, MLS can teach you. They have all the classes on it. But it's super simple. And like when I onboard agents, I show them basic MLS and I show them how to do that. You know,
If I could just, thanks, Gary, because I was the one that asked the question. But so what if the consumer says, well, why should I do MLS for Zillow? Like, what do we say to them to kind of help them, you know, get involved with MLS? Obviously it's live. We know it's more accurate, but is there anything else?
well, I
that, you
think
know,
you
is
hit it right
important for them
there.
to know?
It's live and it's more accurate. And some third-party vendors do take 2 days to update.
Okay.
And, you know, when it's a house that is hot on the market, 2 days, it's gone. You know, they could take the chance, but what does Zillow have that MLS does not? MLS has way more. MLS has uploaded documents. MLS has Street View. I mean, all the stuff that you can kind of hunt and peck, but it's way more concise and accurate.
Yeah, and I think it's an easy into working with an agent. So what I say on top of that is, you know, listen, my goal is to not allow you to miss opportunities. So that MLS search alert notifies you the moment something hits the market so that you can tell me that you're interested in it and we can go out and look at it before the general public does. And you're going to get notified if something gets price reduced, comes back on the market. The back on the markets are the best opportunity for me to get that house for you. You have, you know, because the sellers are, you know, they're disappointed, right? And they're nervous about going back under contract. So if we show up and put in an offer, almost always I can usually lock those down pretty quickly. So it's a good conversation for you to have to show your strength as a professional, right? And it gives them it makes them feel like they're in some kind of exclusive club that they can only get into if they're working with an agent. And talking about the delays, like Gary was saying, is really the most effective way to get them to say yes to you, because they're missing out. They don't want to have FOMO, right? I did write down something here to remember that the number one goal of an open house is lead generation. I can count on one hand after 3 years the amount of times that I sold a house from an open house. And well, actually, this past weekend put it over the edge, 6. Okay. But it was a tenant and I told her to come. So I don't really think that counts. But that's not the goal of the open house. Like very rarely you might do it. Some people may have more success than me, but think about the amount of times that you look at a house with a client before they say yes to one, right? Most of it's not the first house that they look at. Usually it's a couple. And so the goal for you at an open house is to capture leads. It's to get names and numbers, fill your pipeline, create and find opportunities. And so it's okay if all the people that walk in the door don't want to buy the house. So don't go into your open houses with that expectation. Otherwise, you might get disappointed and you might focus on the wrong things. Not that it doesn't happen. If you have massive success selling your properties at an open house, congratulations. But, really it's all about the lead generation.
May I ask what the largest number of people have been in an open house? Roughly how many hours?
I've had over 30 at an open house, but that was like not normal, I don't think, for our market. That was just COVID market. But generally 5 to 10 is pretty normal if you do the right things for an open house. Obviously some will have more, some may have less, but I would say if you have 5 to 10 parties show up that you're able to engage with and have conversations with, that's great. I actually prefer slower open houses because it allows me to have conversations with people and I have a higher success rate when I can spend more time connecting with them. But I also love busy open houses where you capture a lot of data. It's just, they're all kind of different. Gary, do you have any feedback on that?
We've had a couple of hundred at an open house a number of times. Maybe it's just because of where we are located and the price points. We've had hundreds. And we typically, what we'll do is we know it's going to be, and this was during the COVID time where you monitor how many people are coming in and out. And we typically have one of our newer agents shadow another agent. And one person is by the door, one person is in the house. And then you kind of monitor how many people come in and out. But it has been surprising that we've had hundreds with lines, I mean, like lines, and it's crazy. And then the agents split the list of people that have signed in to, you know, to kind of make it go through. Lately, I agree though, it's been like, you know, 20, 30 maybe.
Did
But
that,
again-
did that big bunch occur in the March, April, June, May timeframe last year?
Yeah, and all
Yeah.
in the metro, like the Metro West area.
I was at a
where-
Framingham showing, two Framingham showings, and one was like that.
Yeah, it was probably our agent. We have the market here, yeah. But it's like when you come up to like especially it's like you know, a colonial house, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, updated, you know, the generic house, you know, you're gonna get a lot of people. And we've kind of done that where we've been ready for it. And sometimes we're not ready for it, but we've been very lucky. We are very big on open houses in our office. We have our top realtor is actually calling around, seeing what other agents she can do an open house for.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a big thing here.
All of you, maybe you should take a drive up to Boston and observe an open house, because that is crazy. I mean, also it's Boston Metro, so probably people can just like walk in, pop in, right? Here you gotta drive and, you know, drive a half an hour down 20 roads to get to
Yeah.
But yeah, know your market, and then find people in your market center that love doing open houses. If I'm ever doing an open house, sometimes I'll have like 5 or 6 agents shadowing me. I don't care, you know. I think they're great learning opportunities if you look at the right ones.
And
So the next slide, the benefits of an open house. We're going to go through some of these. So probably the coolest one is that they're relatively inexpensive to host, right? You need some yard signs, which even if you don't have those, don't let lack of yard signs keep you from conducting an open house. Like I said, you can borrow them from somebody. Your market center may even have some available to you. You know, you can write your own. If I wouldn't do that, maybe make it look bad, but I don't know, just get creative. At the very least, get one that you can put in front of the house, especially if it's on a high traffic area. But you know, other than signs, the rest of it is legwork, right? It's you making the phone calls, it's maybe door knocking. You know, most of the things that you can provide at an open house could be digital. You don't even have to spend a ton of money on printing. You know, you can use the resources that are available to you, but it's finding the open house and showing up for an hour or two and having conversations with people. It's like the cheapest way that you can generate leads. You don't have to really pay any money to do that.
What do you mean by finding the open house?
Meaning, like what you've been doing. I think I've seen your posts on the Keller Williams page, right? That you said, you know, asking around, calling agents that have listings. I mean, you can search on the MLS houses that have been on the market over 30 days or maybe over 3 weeks or something. Start there, because
Okay.
those are the ones. Yep.
Can I
Thank
jump
you.
in? So I was going to say this before. So, you know, in MLS, you can pull up listings specifically for your office. Do you know that you can do that?
No.
Okay, it's super simple. And what you'll do is you'll pull up listings only for your office, put it on map view, and you can see where all of your office's listings are. Pinpoint a listing you want, 1 or 2 listings that you want to hold an open house, that you know the area, that you're comfortable with, whatever. Specifically call that agent. Hey, Monica, it's Gary from the office. I know you have 123 Main Street listed for sale. Do you think your client would mind if I held it open for you this weekend? We do not have any success. We have people putting in, hey, I'm ready for an open house. Anybody want me to do an open house? Nobody's getting the responses on our Facebook page. Where the people are getting is when they're pinpointing a specific house, a specific agent, and going in, like Gary Keller says, what day is good for you, today or tomorrow?
Right.
You know, hey, you don't say when do you want to meet. So do the same thing. Hey, you know, hey, Bob, you have this house. Can I hold it open this day? Let me know. And they're gonna, you know, why? And there's reasons why they may say no, but more likely than not, they're gonna say yes. It's way easier for them to say, sure, let me call my client, make sure it's good, I'll get right back, as opposed to they see a Facebook page post and they're like, oh, well, let me call her, when does she want to do it?
Yeah.
You know, so pinpoint it specifically, but it's really easy in MLS to find your office's listings.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's, I
Actually,
100%
that's my dedicated training today, is to go into Smart MLS training. So
Mhm.
hopefully
Yeah,
I'll finish that today.
I love MLS. I think it is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I sound like I've been living here forever and I'm not from here, and I know statistics and I'll know it through MLS.
Okay.
right. And you have their name and phone number and email address right there, right? So you can contact the listing agent directly.
Yep.
So I would highly recommend doing it that way, because that, like Gary said, the posting, I've seen your posts. And it's a matter of having to, that means somebody has to reach out to you versus you reaching out to them. And you're gonna, the post isn't horrible. You may capture some, but the most effective way is just to go directly to the agent.
Yeah, I'm looking, Victoria just said that she's a new agent in the Boston metro market. And her very first open house is this weekend. She found it by searching through MLS, through the office, and contacting the agent with the listing. Perfect.
Yeah. Right. And remember, like I said in the beginning, you're helping that agent because they're going to look good to their seller, right? They're going to appear as somebody who is proactively finding ways to sell the house. Even though they're, that was you, but that's okay. It makes them look good. Yes, we have a Marjorie. Go ahead. What's your question?
What are the things you have to be really careful about if you're doing an open house for another agent's listing because it's not yours? Like kind of protocol, or you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
So yeah, I mean, that's a great question. You're not representing the seller. So when you are talking to people at the open house, it's okay to say that. Like, actually, I'm a buyer's agent. I'm here to help buyers, which is actually really good for you because you should be represented by your own agent. The seller is already represented by somebody else in my market center. So I'm here to help you as the buyer. Right. And I do that all of the time. I have that conversation all the time with buyers anyway. So, and if you are the listing agent and somebody is nervous about you also representing them as a buyer, there's scripts for that as well. And I don't know if there's another class for that, but if someone's not comfortable with it, then you can hand that off to another agent and you can get a referral fee or something like that, but if you handle it right, people are usually okay with it. So hold on, where was I? So while the open houses don't cost much, they do require a significant time investment. So that's what I was saying, is that, you still have to put in the work, right? You have to understand the property you're going to sell. You have to find the open house. You have to connect with the agent. You have to put your signs out. You're going to want to be prepared. And it's time, right? It's a couple hours, but it's lead generation time. That's how you have to look at that. Open houses are also a very useful prospecting tool for lead generation to meet buyers, sellers, and other agents. I've actually met multiple agents at open houses because sometimes they show up with their clients. The potential clients that you may meet at the open house can quickly become they can qualify as leads. The main thing you invest when preparing an open house is your time, really. The return on your investment can be tremendous. You generate leads, qualify leads, potentially get a closed deal. The qualified leads are important because it gives the participants opportunities to you guys to get face-to-face and build meaningful relationships with clients. Honestly, some of my best clients are from open houses. And make sure that when you're entering into the database, you are labeling them as open house leads. Usually what I do is I put in open house and then I also put the property address so that in the future I can remember where I met them and who they are.
Tag them.
Yeah, tag them in the system. And then the reason that it's important to tag them is especially if you're getting 100 leads. I mean, 100 people come through the door, right? That's crazy. But you can target to that group. So let's say you get all these people to come in at the open house, nobody's really interested in that house, and then the house still sits on the market after an open house. You can revisit that like when the next price reduction happens. So, and even if it's not your listing, right? You meet these people at an open house, the house still sits there, you notice, and you can set yourself up on an alert for that property too. But let's say that there's a price reduction by $20,000 a week later because no one bought it. Go back to all those people and say, hey, I met you at this open house. Just wanted to let you know the sellers just reduced the price by 20,000. I know at the time it wasn't the right house for you, but figured I would reach out in case a price reduction made a difference for you. That could be another opportunity for you to have a touch point with someone. So the three most, it's like, what are the most common leads that you get from an open house is one of the things we're talking about. We've kind of hit that pretty heavy: buyer leads, seller leads, potential investors. I've picked up several investors from open houses, especially if it's like not the best house, right? Like I honestly don't care what the condition is of an open house. If it's my listing, I'm going to conduct one. And I took any open house when I first started, and I had investors walk in the door looking to buy it and flip it. And those are great clients because you typically can capture them for multiple properties as well. And then people that are unqualified, that's another common pool of buyers that I usually get, or clients that I usually get that show up at open houses, right? They're probably there because they're interested in looking and maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they were told no by someone and they still have a goal of buying a house, but other agents they've spoken to have said, sorry, it's not the right time for you. The lenders have told them it's not the right time for them. I still will put them on a nurture campaign. And then I ask them if they're interested in speaking with one of my preferred lenders that I trust. And then I can know the story so that I can follow up with them. And so, that turns into a nurture that's going to buy a year out. I have also converted those into rental leads, right? Like, okay, so you're not happy where you live. Unfortunately, you can't buy a house right now, but let me help you find another place to go in the meantime. And then I capitalize on a rental commission. And then we also help them buy a house in the future. So let me see what time it is. 10:30. So
I wanted to mention that you said when someone is not qualified by the lender, one of the ways that I've gotten buyers is right now, literally, I have a good more than 2 hands full of buyers that are actually going through a program, which is NACA. They don't go by your credit score. They don't go by down payment, low cost. And I tell them about, I said, you know what, you weren't qualified. Go online, check this out, and I'll work with you to go through the process. It's going to take you a little longer, but at least you're going through a process. Check it out, see if it's for you. And it's worked. Yeah. I bought my house that way, my duplex. So it's another tool to give a buyer, and it's helpful. So I would recommend everybody look at that.
Our goal is to help others, right?
What was that called?
It's called NACA.com, NACA.com. Look at it. It's an excellent program. Bank of America is the one who holds the mortgage, but you can't just walk into Bank of America and say you want that mortgage. You got to go through this program. And it's not just for first-time home buyers. As long as you don't own a house, you can get it, and they will work with you. You as the agent, I will let you know, will have to do a lot more legwork of inserting everything online. I love doing it. So it's beneficial, but it's a good way to get buyers.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. So before we take a break, we're going to hear some ahas. So does anybody have a takeaway or an aha that they would like to share that they've learned so far today?
Yeah.
I never thought of actually going and checking our market center for the actual open house and directly asking, because I've made posts also when it was gone, uncommented and probably read a million times. But I think that's a really good tool to use, and I think you'll get a lot more yeses that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself. So I'm always getting the notifications for the market center, post of, hey, I'd love to do an open house for you. And I might see it and go, oh, yeah, I should come back to them. I would like to do an open house. And then my day is like a freight train and I forget to go back. But if someone actually called me or texted me or left me a voicemail or sent me an email or something, I'm probably more likely to respond than remembering to go back to a post that's now buried down on our Facebook page. So it's good because it gets your name out there. Right, because I think I've seen, I know Monica for sure. I saw your posts, and in my head, I was like, "Go, Monica! Like, good for you, putting yourself out there. That's awesome." But I haven't revisited it. But if you connected with me personally, I would probably try to find something for you. I don't have anything right now, but I will soon. Anybody else have an aha?
I have one.
Sure.
This is kind of just more some stuff I've done in the past for open houses. But storage units are great for cluttery houses because it helps the seller get the moving process started. But also if you're looking to like really maximize the layout of a house, you can sometimes call a staging company, not even to like have them bring in their furniture, but they can help you like really maximize the space with the layout with the seller's furniture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? We'll take one more before we take a break.
Can I add something?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I've been in the business for a long time, since 1992, and I've conducted like probably hundreds of open houses. And generally, I find that the more qualifying questions you ask people, the more they're willing to give you information. As long as you ask the right qualifying questions when the buyers come in, then I very seldom have had problems getting people to sign in. One way around that is to say that as courtesy to our seller, they are requesting that the prospective buyers sign in. And that could be one way around having somebody not willing to cooperate and sign in.
Yeah, I mean, I always put it on the seller every time. That's just that's what I say. So thank you very much for sharing that. The most important thing is that you capture the data. So you're going to have to practice your pitch. And again, that will come to you the more that you do it. And usually it's out of rejection that we learn, right? So you're going to go in there with all your stuff and you're going to have your first open house and you're going to ask them to do the things and they're going to say no and give you objections and you might lose that because you weren't scripted enough, but then you're going to learn from that. And then the next time everyone's signing that piece of paper. So practice makes perfect. We're going to take a 10-minute break. So come back at 10:45. And then we will go into the second half, which is actually how to do all the stuff that we talked about.
Is it snowing by everybody?
Yes.
Coming down now.
What town are you in?
Framingham.
Okay.
I got rain down on the South Shore.
Johnson, Rhode Island's got some snow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I said, I didn't say the town, I just said the whole state, so I just know my little area.
Where are you, Jerry?
Yes,
Where are you?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay. Ooh, it's like the big flakes are coming down now.
Finally, I've been dying for snow.
Well, I'm from the South. I mean, in case you couldn't tell. So I love the snow. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping it snows all day.
Gary?
From Tennessee.
Gary, you mentioned the QR codes. Is that something you pay for each listing, or we get that through the command?
I think you can get it through command. I don't think you have to pay for it at all. I have, since I've stopped selling, I became the MCA. I was right when that was happening. So I've never done it myself, but I see all the agents and they do it all the time. I don't think they pay anything for it. It's part of, I think it's within Command Suites.
Okay.
If I may, you can generate a QR code anytime for free online. There's tons of little apps that you just look for free QR code.
Right, but
you can make it say anything and embed the image in whatever you're making.
Right, but the key would be if you do it through command and you do a landing page, when people put their information in, they go right into command into your contacts.
Yeah, it's the API
Awesome.
integration. I understand the benefit
Yeah.
of that. I'm just saying generically, if you were going to put it on your business card or something of that nature, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I did the coolest thing is I'm getting in the mail a keychain with my little business card on it. And when I see people, I say, here, and they QR code it.
Yeah,
kinda
there's a
cool.
lot of new technology out with business
Good
cards.
stuff.
Yeah, we have somebody that has, our TL has a business card that all he does is he takes it, he taps it on somebody's phone and it goes
Yep.
into their contacts.
That's what my keychain will be.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm monopolizing because I'm always asking questions, but my
But that's what
goal
everybody's-
is to be the
yeah,
best
but-
agent in I have this affirmation every day. I'm the #1 agent in my office, so.
That's awesome.
Love it. All right.
I think for the most part, you're asking questions that we all want to ask anyway. So thank you.
All right, so we are back in action, going to the next slide of setting goals.
That it? Nope. There we go.
All right, cool. So remember the 6 personal perspectives, specifically E to P, with everything we do, entrepreneurial to purposeful, is essential to be purposeful in our mindset and our actions. Before your open house, you want to set concrete and achievable goals. For example, tell yourself your goal is to add 6 people to your database, right? So pick something that you feel confident that you can go after. And if you didn't get 6 people to add to your database by the end of the open house, go door knocking, go introduce yourself to some neighbors, do something so that you, maybe you do a Facebook Live video and somebody comments on your Facebook Live video and you add that person to your database. Like there's always a way to get to your goal. You just have to be committed to it. It is important to set goals that are achievable and they will require a lot of work. Setting attainable and difficult goals will help maximize your return on your investment. If you're the kind of person that's going to complete what you said you're going to do, then you're going to find a way to get it done. So what other goals do you think could be useful to set for yourself before you host an open house? Anybody want to throw out a goal that you think would be good to set for yourself if you're going to conduct an open house? How about you, Jerry? What do you think would be a good goal to set for yourself for an open house? Oh, we can't. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yep.
Oh, okay. Be better organized and prepared and learn better script, or not better script, but learn scripts on what to say. Not concerned with knowing about each house, just more on how to interact with, say, you as a potential buyer, learning how to interact and not just go and learn how to interact a little better.
Got it. That is a fantastic goal. Yes, we want to practice on each other, not on our people, right? And that's simple enough. There's 30 people in this room right here that are looking to get better at conducting open houses. So grab a script practice partner and, and practice. The goal is not just to get appointments. They're a great way to generate leads, right? So if you go, I think any goal that you're going to be setting around open houses, aside from things like Jerry said of becoming the professional, knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it, is your goal should really be centered and focused around capturing leads, adding to your pipeline, building your database, finding opportunities, and set some measurable goals for yourself. Throw some numbers out there. Picking the house is a crucial step in the open house process. We spend a lot of time talking about that today. So I think that we're in pretty good shape as far as how do you find the house to do an open house on. Aside from like finding one, let's also make sure that it's visible. If you want to really capitalize on that opportunity, find one that's not too far off of a main road so that when you're putting your signs out directionally, one or two of them is going to be in a high visibility area. So like I was saying, out where I live, I mean, a lot of you on here are probably from Connecticut as well, but I do a lot of my work out in Talon County, and it's like, you could be like 10 minutes away from a main road. And so you want to be strategic in where you put your signs. I think if you can stick one on a main road and then, someone could get lost by the time they see the next one. But most people that are heading to an open house know there's an open house. Like I would say, that's probably about 80% of the people that show up at an open house, at least for me, are there because they're there because they know that there's an open house coming, right? Like they saw it online, or their agent told them about it, or maybe they saw my sign in the couple days leading up to that. And then probably not more than 3 turns away from the house, right? Because you don't want to get people lost. So as far as putting out signs, just what I do is you got to make sure you leave time for that. So if you should do it ahead of time. And that's where that sticky tape comes in really good. Or if you have open house signs that say the days and times you normally do open houses, like Sunday, Saturday, 12 to 2, 1 to 3, whatever that looks like for you. But that tape is really cool because that allows you to put your signs out ahead of time. If for some reason you don't do it, maybe you get a last minute open house opportunity. You definitely want to give yourself like an extra half an hour, 45 minutes to put them out, because I really underestimated the amount of time it was going to take for me to do that in some areas where sometimes you have to park like down the road, walk, put your sign up because maybe at that intersection is not a good place for you to pull over. Also in the winter time, if you have signs that stick into the ground and the ground is frozen, that is not fun. So having the signs that are, A-frame can be helpful. They're also more expensive. So, make sure you wear shoes that you can really pound the sign into the ground with during the winter. So there's things that you're going to run into that you might not expect. So definitely give yourself some time. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. When you are selecting your open house, if you use MLS as part of your guide and you look and you pull up your office listings, remember, because you're supposed to be, if you're not doing your own, you should be doing something within your office. So if you pull up your office listings by map, you know, if you're not super familiar with the area, you know, you could think Main Street is the main street and you're like, oh, this is Main Street Extension. So to get here, you have to go here, 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 and it's not going to be an easy find. So also when you're picking your house, look to see what's close to a main road. If it's your own listing, obviously you need to do it. But if you're selecting what house you're going to do, try to select the house that's going to be of value to you, where you're going to get the traffic. You know, I did one, my first open house was like in the middle of nowhere and it was a farm. And I mean, it was literally not even near a road. I'm like, oh, I'll do that house. I don't care. I have nothing better to do. And like nobody showed up because it was literally in the middle of nowhere. So kind of be more selective and make sure you're doing everyone a justice, including you and your time.
Yeah, absolutely. The other piece is get familiar with the neighborhood. The easiest thing to do usually is if you have an agent that puts thought into their descriptions, there's some cool stuff in the description. There's also a website that I use called List Reports, and you can make open house like pages for it. And you put in the address, it pulls the data from the MLS and from the area. And it's this little handout that I give at the open house. And it says, you know, how many restaurants are in the area? What is there to do around town? What's the walkability to attractions? And also it talks about, what else? I forget what the other thing is, but it's like, it's neat. It gives you some stats on the area. So if somebody doesn't live in the area and you're not super familiar with it, it just gives you some extra talking points. And I like having that as a handout.
I may throw in there, I mean, when you were speaking of that, the school systems are actually pretty important when you start talking to people too. And also if you're in Boston metro area, if you're going to show something, there's going to be no place to park. I covered one in Everett, Mass. And I mean, you're walking blocks, and if it's in the wintertime, your car will be towed unless, I mean, you may want to consider even public transportation, depending on what you're doing. It's really tough in the immediate area down there. So
Right.
just a heads up, like north end of Boston, I have a client that's in downtown Boston. She lives in Lexington and wants to buy a house down, one of the condos down, one of the tall buildings. I park outside and drive in and commute it and take the rail in.
Yeah. Yep. So those are all things that you have to consider based on where you are. And as you're preparing for the open house, you want to get to know the shopping centers, grocery stores, coffee shops, you know, some local things. I like to look at that while I'm putting signs out. And also just, again, you know, you're going to do the open house at least 24 hours prior to the open house, most likely, right? So just take a little bit of time and do some research on the area. I will say, and this is just, you know, maybe it's because there's nothing to do in the areas where I do open houses, like you got to drive a half an hour to get anywhere. But, you know, a lot of people don't ask about that. Like most people know where they're going and why they're going there. The most important research that I do is about the house. Like, what are the selling features of the home? Why would somebody want to live there? And like I said to you guys before, I just ask the agent. I don't make any, like, I'm not trying to make stuff up. Sell me the house. Give me your, what is your elevator pitch on this property? And the agents want to sell the property. So they're going to, you know, they're going to tell you all the things that you need to know. If you get not a very helpful agent, then, you know, you got to do a little bit more research on your own, but the disclosures are helpful to read. You want to look through those, know about any potential issues, read through the agent to agent remarks. And then look through the house when you get there, right? Take a tour of it, get to know it before you let people in the door. Another really good tip is to consider the average sale price in your market. So obviously houses can sometimes sit on the market because they're overpriced or they're in poor condition. But if you pick an open house that fits the average sale price of your area, then you're going to get the majority of the, you know, you're going to get a busier open house than you would if you picked, you know, an $800,000 house when the price point in that market, the average sale price is $350,000. You're going to have less buyers that can afford the $800,000 house or that are looking in that price range. So you're going to have slower activity. If you find something that's within the average price point, it makes sense that you're going to have more people that could potentially buy the home and walk through the door. So if the goal of an open house is to generate and qualify leads, what other things do you think that we should be thinking about before we pick the home for the open house? Anybody have any other things? Gary, do you have anything else you want to add about picking the right house?
Nope, I think I've said everything I need to.
Cool. All right, so prepare and practice. That's the next slide. Before you host your open house, you have to prepare a list of questions you may be asked and practice those conversation starters, which again, we've been talking about. Some questions you might face will test your knowledge of the house and your market. So we've been hitting this nail on the head a lot, right? Know the house, know the market. Potential clients are going to ask you things like, why is the house for sale? When was the home last renovated? When were things repaired? Are there any structural issues? How long has the house been on the market? So you have to be prepared with answers to those questions. As far as why is the house for sale? I don't ever answer that question, right? Like, unless the seller has specifically told me that I can say why they're selling the house, it is not something that I would ever want to reveal to a buyer or a buyer's agent, because that creates negotiating opportunity. If I'm not representing the seller, then yeah, I'm going to use that to negotiate an offer on the house, right? If I know they're moving out of the state and they have to sell before they go, and there's a major sense of urgency, I'm going to use that to my advantage as a buyer's agent if I'm not representing the seller, because I'm going to try to put together the best deal for my buyers. If I know that there's something that I could say that could potentially get my seller less money for the home, I'm probably not going to disclose that. So I think it depends on the situation that you're in. But generally speaking, I think a safe thing to answer is, sometimes we never really know why the seller is selling, but the most important thing is that it is for sale. So let's go take a look at the house, right? Like, just kind of not brush it off, but I don't know, Gary, how do you usually answer that question?
I just say, when I do answer, if I answer, I typically say they've decided to move out. They've decided to move. Yeah.
Right.
They decided to move.
Right. We don't have to know. I actually love when listing agents disclose that information, because like I said, I use that to my advantage if I'm a buyer's agent. Are there any other questions that you commonly hear, Gary, from people as to what, when they walk in the door?
When do they want to, is there a specific date in mind they would like to close?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when is the house, like, when can they close?
Yeah. So the answer
what's coming with the house?
Right.
What I forgot the word. Fixtures. What non-fixtures are staying with the house?
My answer to those are always, in real estate, everything's negotiable. So, or a lot of things are, right? So if there's something you see that you like, we can try to, negotiate that in there. And if not, then, no big deal. And then when are the sellers looking to move? Unless it's specifically stated by the agent, my answer is usually, well, people put their house on the market with the understanding that we would be looking to close within the normal 30 to 45 day range. Some close faster, some a little bit longer, but that's something that we can negotiate with the offer. So the other thing that you could consider doing for an open house is to consider bringing a speaker or a guest, like a lender or an inspector, that can help facilitate conversations and answer questions. A lot of people bring lenders. I think it's a smart thing to do if you have a good relationship with a lender, because number one, I would say for me, the biggest benefit to myself for bringing somebody is, well, there's two things. Number one is that if we get overwhelmed with people coming in the door, it just gives you someone else to help hold on to people until you get a chance to connect with them. And then the other piece is that obviously a lender can help facilitate a conversion, right? Like if they haven't talked to a lender yet and they're literally just starting their process, the lender can help make it real for them. Like, I was surprised if I can't have a lender attend the event with me, I will have them send over flyers for me to have at my table. And it's like, if you were doing 5% down, or like 3.5% down, this is what your mortgage payment would be. 5%, this is what it is. 20%, this is what it is. And it just gives people a real understanding that, hey, like I can actually afford this house and I didn't realize that I could, or whoa, that's the mortgage payment. And then you can kind of have some conversations around that. And then the third thing, I know I said there was two, but there's a third, is that it keeps me fresh. So if I have somebody with me and we're engaging in conversation and someone walks through the door, my energy level is high versus me sitting in a home by myself. Maybe I'm just like plugging away at work, making phone calls, doing lead gen, whatever it is I'm doing. When somebody walks through the door, I'm like, I have to get into people mode. I have to like remember how to talk to somebody because I've been sitting by myself for an hour. So having someone there with you just kind of keeps you in that, you know, higher level of energy. So we've talked a little bit about best practices through some questions and conversation, but visitor sign in. So a couple people have asked, how do you get somebody to sign in? And really it's put it on the seller. Hey, welcome to this open house. Nice to meet you. My name is Erin. Before you start looking around the property and I start answering any questions for you, the seller has asked that everybody that enter the home sign in. Could you please take a moment and do that? And then I'll go through some of the stuff with you about the house. So they fill it out and then I go into my next steps. And I very rarely have had anybody do that. If they give me any pushback, I say, oh, you know, you seem like you were prepared for this. Have you been to many open houses? Are you working with an agent? Oh, cool. Well, if you're working with an agent, don't worry about anything else. Just put your agent's name up top here and then maybe just your first name. So if there's any updates, I can inform your agent and let them know that you were here. You know, something simple like that. And it's also for your safety as well, right? If anything happens at the property, you know, or during the open house, you have a list of all the people that had attended. If they're not willing to sign in, you could potentially ask them to, you know, leave something of value while they tour the home, like leave their car keys at the desk. I have never really had a major issue with the sign-in sheet, and maybe other people have, but I think if you explain to them why they need to sign in, most people are generally okay with that. And then and another way to capture data, if you're being given a hard time, or if you notice that they didn't put complete information, or maybe they just put their name, just say, you know, another reason why I like to have people sign in is also if there's any updates on the property, like if the seller decides to do a major repair to help it sell, or they do a price reduction, I'd love to be able to notify you of that. And then, you know, they might fill out the form. Creating a sign-in station is really good. So I try to have I try to put like my sign-in sheets on a table, like a kitchen table where multiple people could fill out the form. And that's why I do separate forms instead of one list, because I think people are more likely to put their full contact information if the person behind them isn't going to read everything that they're writing. So I got into the habit of doing separate sign-in sheets. Also, the QR code is very good for that as well. It cuts down on the backlog of people piling up to sign into your house. And then, you know, aside from using a QR code and a sign-in sheet, I don't really think that there's really, does anybody have any other ways? Gary, are there any other ways you can think of to help people capture data or sign in to see the house?
Well, what I've seen 3 different basic ways in our office. One is like the QR code landing page idea. One is Home Snap Pro or Home Pro, which is a computerized, you hand them your iPad and they will sign in that way. And then of course, the old fashioned paper. And we have had agents that do a small sign-in sheet, you know, maybe a 4x6, and it's on a clipboard, and she basically hands them the clipboard. She has lots of them with a pen and with a thing, and it's like the person's name, phone number, email, you work with a realtor, and then a couple of questions about the house. And she says, here, you know, would you mind filling this out while you walk around? Just hand this to me before you leave.
Yeah.
And then this way she's able to kind of collect it that way.
Would there be any benefit of joining both the feedback sheet and the sign-in sheet together? Would there be any benefit, do you think, to that?
So for me, I do them separately, and actually on the bottom of the feedback form, it asks for their I think it says, and I wish I had them on me, but it says something like, if we have any other questions for you about your tour, would it be okay to reach out? And it said like, and then it asked for their name and phone number again. And I swear to God, I have had times where what they wrote on their sign-in sheet and what they put on their feedback form are two totally different things in terms of like last names, emails, phone numbers. And it's the second form that is really accurate because I've gained their trust by the time they left the house and now they want to share some information with me. And, you know, and they'll say things like, oh, you know what, I put the house phone on there, but this is really my cell phone number. Like that's an email I never use this one. So, you know, there's so many different strategies. I think it's just a matter of like figuring out what works for you. And every market's a little bit different too, right? The type of buyers that are out there and like, are they skeptical? Are there open houses everywhere and people just know the drill? Is it random? Like, you know, they're all a little bit different. So
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. The next piece is choosing a time for the open house. That's super important. You have to know your market well, and you have to stay connected with it. So like Gary was saying, having a commuter open house where, you know, there's a high traffic areas and, you know, like the traffic patterns and, you know, the general times people are coming and going, when's rush hour, all of that kind of stuff. That's important to know. You have to know, you know, if you're going into like, I don't know, just throwing this out there, like maybe the community the house is in is like really into kids sports and football and it's like a big town thing and everyone goes to the game. Like you're not going to want to host an open house during that, but you might want to make it right when it gets out, you know, where you know there's a lot of traffic coming through. So picking your times and days is important. Saturday afternoons are generally not a great time for an open house because that's when people have a lot of activities, but Sunday afternoons are probably a little bit better. Like the best open houses for me in my area are usually 12 to 2 on a Sunday. The Saturday ones, I don't get as much traffic, so I started doing them earlier. I do like a 9 to 11 on a Saturday and I get more activity. The nighttime ones are great, but not during the winter because it's dark and it's not a great time to go and visit the house. In the summertime, the nighttime ones are awesome. So it's just getting to know the patterns in your market. And that might take you 5-10 open houses to really nail what is the most successful for me in this area. So, you know, again, also knowing like what's on major television that day. You're not going to probably want to conduct an open house during the Super Bowl. Or you're going to be really angry, or people might be really angry with you, right? So just know your market, know what's happening in the world. There's a major theme in the $1 Million Real Estate Agent, which is to learn from the individuals that precede you. So if you're conducting you should always be learning from others, gaining experience from others. So if you're going to do an open house for an agent, you know, maybe ask them what they think the best preferred time is. Listen, I'm pretty flexible this weekend. What have you had success with for an open house time? Especially if you have a good relationship with that agent, or ask other agents what's worked for them. You could do themes for your open house. I've seen people have success with that. That's not something that I do. I don't usually do giveaways or like, you know, anything like that. I'm pretty like stick to the basics kind of agent, but you certainly could get creative with stuff if you wanted to. Gary, have you ever done a theme for an open house?
I did a wine and cheese open house. When I do brokers, they're always themed, you know, by the lender. I have a lender to be a co-host, and we'll just bring in some type of food. But I have done a wine and cheese open house for a luxury home. And again, that was more than one agent there. It was like a 6,000 square foot house, but typically not anymore. You know, I mean, with COVID, you're nervous, and, you know, at least over here, you want them in and out and make an offer. You don't,
yeah.
You know, it's just too busy.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, COVID really simplified things for us as agents. You know, it was like, show up half an hour early, bake cookies. So the house
cookies.
Right. And then like, cool. But now no one's going to eat the things that you put out. It's just not a thing anybody wants to do anymore. Like no one's going to eat your donuts. No one wants to, like, they don't want your fruit punch. Like maybe they'll take a bottle of water with your picture on it, who knows? But I don't think when we talk about return on investment and keeping your costs down and really just like show up as the professional, people are going to be most wowed by your knowledge, right? So if you script practice, if you learn about the neighborhood, if you read the disclosures, if you can answer their questions, that's how you provide the most value for people. So you don't have to go crazy doing anything. You just have to show up and work. Okay. That's like the best advice I can give you.
I mean, if it's the summer and the house is a nice size home and has a beautiful backyard with a pool, and that's the selling feature of the pool, maybe stick out, a bunch of bottled waters and some lemonade, prepackaged bottles, in a tin tub by the pool so people can kind of get the feel of hanging out. But yeah.
Maybe some candy, like some little snack size bite candies. Those are fun too. But you don't have to go crazy. I would say also making sure that you get there in enough time to turn all the lights on, crack doors so that people feel comfortable, really exploring the house, because you may not be able to go through it with every single person. You kind of want to be manning the entrance so that you're capturing those conversations with people and you're getting leads. And then as far as the next best thing that you can do is conduct an open house when other open houses are happening. That's great. If there's an open house right down the street, find another property near that. So when you're driving around town and you see open house this Sunday, oh, ding, ding, let me try to find another property in this area that I can offer to do an open house for, because there's already going to be traffic in the area and you want people comparing properties and comparing homes, because that's what creates some competition and gets people to make a decision. And then doing open houses at non-traditional times, like Gary was talking about in the very beginning, doing that commuter time, there's no reason why you can't conduct an open house at 9 to 11 on a Monday. Like who cares? Try things out, right? Like give the sellers the best opportunity to gain exposure in the property. Maybe parents drop kids off at school and on their way in, they look at a house in the morning instead of at the afternoon or evening. Again, those open houses, they should never be a waste for you. You can capitalize on any opportunity by conducting an open house, even if no one shows up through the door. Use it on your social media, use it as an opportunity to talk to neighbors, get some work done. I always bring my computer, I have a list. I always show up to an open house with a to-do list in case nobody walks through the door, I'm getting stuff done. And it should be revolved around lead generation, because that's what that time is allotted for. The next slide, prepare stats. So if you've been practicing connecting with and knowing your market, then gathering the neighborhood stats for your open house should be pretty easy. Some things that you should be looking at getting some information on is maybe some local information provided by school districts. Now, as agents, we're not really supposed to be talking about schools, but we can have an understanding in our heads, and then we can also direct people on where to go, right? So reminding them of the best websites to check out for schools in the area. And also just generally knowing what the school district is, right? So, there's in Talon County, where I am in Connecticut, there's a lot of school districts where you have multiple towns going to the same school, and people will ask hey, which high school would my kid be going to here? You can answer those kind of questions, but you don't want to get involved in questions when someone says, are the schools here good? Well, you know what? Good is really hard to define, and it could be different for everybody. So, I can tell you what the school is that they would be going to, and here's the website that I would recommend looking at to get some more information about that.
One of the ways that I got around that and them choosing a school is if I know it's like a 3-bedroom apartment one of the things that I did with a friend of mine was tell them, hey, you know what? Not sure which school, but I do know that the elementary school bus is right there at the corner. So it's going to be very close for your child.
Yeah, sure. That's a great thing too. Employment information. there are some towns where, or there's some companies where people, you know, they have a lot of turnover, they have a lot of people move to the area for those property, I mean, for those employers. Like Pratt & Whitney is a big one, you know, I don't know, Amazon, if there's an Amazon area, a new distribution center coming in, you may get a lot of people moving there for that. So knowing what some of the employment, the major employment opportunities are, if someone's moving to the area, what's the recreation like in the area, where are the parks, what is there to do? You know, those are easy things to Google, like, what do you do, or what is there to do in, you know, Coventry, Connecticut? Well, that's the town that I had my first house in. Well, they have one of the best farmers markets in the state. That's a cool thing to sell. Hey, a mile up the road is one of the best farmers markets in the area. So, you know, just get a couple buzzwords together when you are preparing for your open house, and then traffic and commute times, like where's the closest highway? Sometimes when people travel to your open house, they may take a lot of back roads, but maybe the highway is like, you know, 5 minutes in that direction versus the direction that they came in from where they live. And the answers to these, or sorry, these talking points will come out of asking qualified questions. Like, I don't remember who it was that was just saying, you know, ask the right questions. What's important to you in a home? Why this house? Like, what brought you here today? So when people walk in the door after they sign in, sometimes I say to them, hey, do you live in the area, or did you travel here from somewhere? And just get an understanding of who they are, and why this house, why this town, why this neighborhood. And then another piece is, you know, if you ask those questions just to kind of engage in conversation, and then they go on their tour, they start looking around the house. If there's no one else you're talking to, Google a couple things on your phone, like find out some answers to their questions. And then when they come back and say, hey, while you were walking around the house, I actually found out the answer to your question. And that, you know, that would probably impress them. So if we go to the next slide, which is be safe, which is another key bullet point on this. These are some of the things that you can do to stay safe at an open house. Your safety really should be a top priority when you are conducting an open house, because there are risks involved, right? You're alone in a house that's open to anybody to stop by, and you're advertising that you're going to be at that house, right, for 2 hours. So a buddy system can be helpful. If I'm conducting an open house in not the best area, which I have done, sometimes I'll bring my husband with me, and he just kind of like hangs out in the house while I'm working. That is an option too. Like, if you just want to bring someone so that you're not alone, you can do that. Maybe they hang out in the car waiting for you, you know, just to be there in case anything happens, or just so that you don't feel alone. You can get a lender to come with you, or any other industry professional. You should let people know where you're going to be. So if you're going to go conduct an open house, make sure someone knows that you're there, whether it's a colleague or a friend or a family member. Have your GPS location turned on your phone. Or you can lean into your market center for something like that. You know, just make sure people know where you are and that they have access to you if need be. Make sure your phone is fully charged. Make sure all the lights are on in the house. I would lock all the doors except for the one people are going to come in and out of, just so that you can keep an eye on the only way to get in and out of the property. Stay near the, stay near the entrance of the home. Don't park your car in the driveway. If possible, park it on the street so that you don't get your car blocked in for some reason. If you need to emergency exit the property. So it is important to check all the entrances and exits. Like I said, have a fully charged cell phone. You may be using your cell phone as a way to sign in for people. You may be using your computers for a way to sign in for people. Whatever your technology is, make sure that it's fully charged. So, to ensure that, for me, sometimes I just actually charge them at the open house. So I keep them plugged in unless I, need to take them out. And then if you are showing people through the house, you should always allow them to walk in front of you. So this is something you're probably learning in another class too about showing properties. I always let my clients lead the way because I want to always be closest to the exit, right? Like you got to protect yourself. Like if we're going to go walk into a basement, I let them go first. Unless I know them really well, we've been looking for a long time and I'm more comfortable with them. But if these are people that you've never met before and you don't have relationships with them, your safety is the priority. You should be familiar with your local health guidelines as far as, social distancing, wearing masks, any kind of COVID protocols. Your sellers may want people to use hand sanitizer and use masks and gloves or whatever. I mean, I think we're beyond the gloves, but some people may want people to wear masks when they come in the house. So, just keeping your health and safety and security top of mind anytime you're doing all this stuff, even putting your signs out, right? Like when I put my signs out, I pull over, I take my keys out of the ignition, I unlock my car, take my sign out of the trunk, lock my car while I'm putting my signs out on the street. And then I walk back to my car because, you don't want to just like leave your car running while you run to the end of the road to put your sign out. Somebody might take your car or, jump into your car. You never know. So it's important to just be thinking safe when you're doing these things. Is there any other safety precautions that you might consider? I also have mace with me. I keep it in my pocket whenever I'm showing properties. I just stick it in my pocket and I use it, especially for my first time working with people. And I always have it on me at open houses. Is there anything else that people have done or have ideas on to stay safe?
As a camper, one thing I always tell my people that I'm with, because we have to walk a distance to the bathroom, is I actually buy because I have foster children, I actually buy them these little horns, and it's so freaking loud it'll scare anything and it'll distract. So I actually take that with me when I'm in places that I don't know.
Nice.
I was gonna say, you can say no. You could say no and not go down into the scary basement with them. You could let them go in and say, great, I just make it a practice. I don't go into basements. If you have any questions, come up and I can answer them for you back up here. But don't feel intimidated that you must go down to the basement.
Yeah.
And I don't open the attic hatch. I go up there.
Sounds like the last house on the left kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I did recently have this happen. I do get in the habit of forewarning. We have the Forewarn app. If I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I look them up. I didn't do it on one client one time. It was a referral from another agent, and I went out to meet them at a house, and they were really weird, and just I got a weird vibe from them. And then after I left the house, it wasn't the right house for them. We went to another one, and beforehand I did use the Forewarn app, and I saw like not that long ago they had assault and burglary charges, and I was like, but the one time that I didn't do it, right? And I was much more cautious the next time. I mean, you never know the full story, but when I walked in, the client had their hand in their pocket the whole time, and it was very strange to me. And I just like my sixth sense kind of kicked in, and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And of course I was probably on edge from finding that out, and we're walking around, and like I stayed near the door, and I just sort of let them look around the house, and they never took their hands out of their pocket, one hand in the pocket the whole time. It was like very awkward and weird. So, I think it's super important for you to be aware, and be thinking of your own safety at all times. So yes, the app is called Forewarn. I know for my market center, we get that as we get access to that as a KW person, like admin, like agent being in the market center. And there may be something similar where you are. So I would ask about that.
But generally trusting your gut, as you had a feeling, that
Yeah.
usually does work. If you don't like somebody, shut it down, get out, call the police, whatever you need to do.
Yep, I let them go in the basement by themselves. I said, hey, you know what? You go check out the basement. I'm just gonna go, look over here. And it was a bizarre experience. And I never saw them again, actually. They just like fell off the face of the planet. So I don't know.
Also, if
And
you have
then-
access to a second phone, just actually have a live phone call to someone that can spend time with you
Yeah.
remotely.
Yep, that's another one too. So we're gonna keep going. Does anybody have any? I know I want to be mindful of time. I'm gonna try to feel like we're only like halfway through, so I gotta get going on this. So the next quote, you want to go to that? The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. This is like so true. And I think that's why as a new agent, when you're listening to people talk, find out, like what are the basics, right? Because you could spend a lot of time getting very creative and I could do this and I could do that. And like, what if I did this super creative thing over here? At the end of the day, our job is very simple. Talk to people, set appointments, negotiate contracts, follow up with leads, right? And you can get really caught up in all the other things that can happen, all the other noise. But the only way that you're going to get to your goals is to focus on talking to people and selling properties, going on appointments. So prepare, prospect, and pursue. Using that model to approach your open house is the thing that we're going to talk about next. So in terms of prepare, remember the goal of your open house is to get appointments with active buyers and sellers. To be at your best and achieve what you've set out for yourself takes preparation. Schedule preparation time during the week before your open house so you can ensure to capture leads and set appointments. You're going to spend more time preparing for the open house than you'll actually be hosting the event. And again, in being newer, if you haven't done open houses or you've only done a couple, this preparation time will be longer for you in the beginning, but the more you perfect how you conduct open houses, the quicker that preparation process should be, because you may not have to continue to prepare in the scripts, but you will have to prepare for the property. We should always be script practicing and role playing, but again, like you're going to get to a point where you've nailed this and then you go find the next thing you want to get really good at. So preparing for your mindset beforehand would be set high and achievable goals so that you have a purpose and a focus while you're conducting that open house. You want to remove your limiting beliefs. So anything that you have in your head, find a way to turn it around in a positive way. Oh, no one's going to show up at this open house. It's probably going to be a waste of time. Say, well, you know what? I have a plan in place. If no one shows up at this open house today for any reason, here's what I'm going to do instead. So, really that flipping of the limiting belief mindset is one of the most important things you can train your brain to do. Focus on your success, right? So going back and focusing on the goals, focus on, picture what does a great open house look like for me? And that's what I want to focus on, and believe in yourself. The fact that, and here's one thing I'll say, we started, I don't know what everybody's personal situations are, but I was in the first class of this Ignite. We had 85 participants. We have 24 participants in this group today. So if you've been following along in the Ignite series up to this point and you're still here, like, you should believe in yourself. You are doing the right things to put yourself in the best possible position for you to go out and achieve your goals and become the real estate agent that you want to be. And so congratulations to you. Continue to put this kind of effort into your business. Practice your conversations for greeting people, answering questions, capturing contact info. Use your kids, your significant other, your family, your friends. I drove my family nuts. I mean, I've been in sales for a long time. I've been script practicing for a long time, and I get anybody that I can to help me with it. I'm like Brian, my husband's name. When I was learning how to do open houses, Brian, walk in through the front door. And he's like, really, you're going to make me do this? And like, go outside and walk in. I need to practice this, right? So grab anybody that you can. And hopefully it's colleagues that understand and can give you good feedback on what you're saying, but there's no excuse not to script practice and role play. And then think about how many leads that you would like to capture, and then analyze your results when you're done. How did that go? You know, what could I have done better? You know, I set a goal of capturing 3 appointments and I didn't set any. Like, how can I do that? Well, you have names and numbers, circle back to them after the open house. If you didn't capture the appointment from then, you know, get it in your follow-up. So set that new goal to convert those leads into your 3 appointments that you should have gotten that day. After you've done all the hard work, like picking your house, the next few steps are going to involve maximizing potential client traffic at your open house. Now, this is assuming you have a week to prepare. Sometimes you don't, and you might have to cram some of these things into a few days at a time, or a few action items into one day. But a lot of it's going to involve posting online in the days leading up to your open house. Remember, we already know that 93% of buyers use a website to find a house, right? So why would we not market our open house online? It's the smartest thing to do. So you have to go where the people are. So you're going to post your open house online. So, you know, you select, let's say Monday, you select the open house, you find it, you call the agents, you get someone to say yes to you. Tuesday, you're going to post online. You're going to walk the neighborhood. You're going to invite neighbors to the showings. I will admit, I am very bad at this. Okay, like, I don't think a lot of people actually do this, but I do know the ones that do it have massive success, right? And it's probably because the neighborhoods that I sell homes in, I will walk for an hour and probably get to like 6 houses, right? Because they're far apart and they're, you know, whatever, no one answers their door, or people are at work. There's all kinds of limiting beliefs around that. I have door knocked. I just don't do it as consistently. So if you do that, if you have time and you take the steps and you do it, your success rate on that open house is going to go up. So I encourage you to do it. I just don't have a ton of experience with it to share with you. But I do know people that do it, and I think it is a great thing. But, you know, walk the neighborhood, invite people to see the property, let them know that you're going to be there if they have any questions. And all you're doing there is you're planting the seed for people to show up. You want to have a busy open house. You want people to walk through the door. And, you know, an easy way to tell somebody to come by is to say, listen, if you know anybody who you would love to have live in the neighborhood, friends, family, invite them to come to the open house. Or if you're curious about what your neighbor's house looks like, because maybe in the future you're thinking of selling, stop on in. Or, you know, there's all kinds of things that you could say to the neighbors to introduce yourself and invite them. And then you're going to post online again on Wednesday, and you're going to want, that's when you're going to want to install the yard signs and make sure it states on your yard sign when the open house is, if possible. You do have something in your participant guide that says preparing for an open house, and there's a checklist in there. I don't have it in front of me, sorry. But Friday, you're going to want to post online again. You can invite your database, meaning you could literally email blast everyone. You could email blast agents. You can, you know, you can email blast your market center. Hey, I'm conducting an open house at 123 Main Street in this town. Here's the price range. If you have any buyers looking in this price range, send them my way, right? I actually have sent people to an open house because I've gotten an email blast from an agent, and I'm like, oh, I never noticed that house. Let me send it to my client and tell them to go, right? You know, it's there's never, if you just capture one opportunity off of anything that you do, it wasn't a waste of time, right? And creating that awareness is going to just help build that up. And you have the time to do it, especially if you're a new agent and you're not juggling a bunch of clients and houses. You should be doing the right things to build good habits. So what do clients like to know? And the next slide. Knowing the numbers for your market is going to help you to know things that your clients are intending to ask, right? People come to your open house intend to know community and neighborhood information. They're buying a lifestyle. That's really important to know. Like, what does the neighborhood have to offer? Why would somebody want to move here? Be a community service real estate expert by knowing your market. Become familiar with the neighborhood, learn the names of the parks down the road, popular restaurants in the area, study the neighborhood history, explore and utilize the KW apps to maximize your lead generation and follow-up. And I know that there's probably classes on, there's command classes on that of what you can do. And then any of the other recreational things, are there zoos? Are there science centers? What is there for kids to do in the area? Are there dog parks nearby? All of that stuff is helpful to know. And it just makes you look like the community expert when people walk in the door. Gary, do you have anything else on this, on these topics as far as, I mean, I feel like we've gone over them a lot, but is there anything else you want to add?
No, what I like to do before an open house, just so I have basic statistics, is I will pull from MLS, like average sale price for the area to kind of figure out where we are within that. It's real simple to find that. I do typically like to have a lender with me because I am not going to be able to delve into mortgage information as well as a lender. And like you said, I like to have somebody with me, not only for its safety, but it keeps me up and more active. And it just helps with everything. And this way you get to look at these buyers, and if they're not ready, you kind of have somebody to kind of see what their motivation is. Here's a lender. If they don't talk, you kind of know. But basically I like to just know dollar amounts. Like, is this house above average in price or below average in price? Just so I kind of know how to field questions and know where people are coming from. And just kind of jumping back about prepping with the neighbors. I would not door knock 5 houses to the left, 5 houses to the right, 5 front, 5 back. I typically would do the ones that can see this house. And I always went with my business card, and I introduced myself as, hey, I'm sure you saw that obnoxious red KW sign down the street. I'm the agent. I'm holding an open house. Here's my card. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Hopefully all the people at the open house will be nice and courteous. Nobody park on your lawn, but here's my card so you can get a hold of me. And I wound up getting a lot of interaction from neighbors that way because they realized it was that I'm the total package, not just, oh, I'm selling this house. I could care less about the neighbors. They kind of like that.
Yeah, I like, at the very least doing 5 to the right, 5 to the left, 5 across the street. I feel like that's a manageable amount to do before the open house. Obviously, if you can do more, then that's great. I see, Marjorie, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, how do you get the lenders there? Like, how do you make it like how far ahead of time? How do you sync times with them? And
so,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you can go.
Okay, so you need to, I believe everyone should have a preferred vendor list with more than one lender, more than one attorney, whatever. And these are people you can rely upon to help guide you and inform you. So you should have a couple of lenders that you feel comfortable with. And then when you have it all set, you can call them and say, hey, I'm doing an open house on Saturday at 12 to 2. Do you want to co-host? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll send somebody else. Sometimes they'll say no and just send marketing flyers. But you have to start building your own network of people you're comfortable using and referring to. Again, never just one person. I had a preferred vendor list, and I had two lenders on it, 2 attorneys, and I would go back and forth, and somebody was always able to show up.
Yeah. Yep. And it's, it's a good opportunity for you to, to start figuring out what would be important to you in a relationship with a lender. What are the qualities that you're going to look for in someone to refer your business to and be in partnership with? For me, it's knowledge. It's up-to-date industry knowledge and problem-solving ability and responsiveness, right? So like I'm a high energy kind of person in terms of my business. I drive the ball forward. I'm constantly looking for opportunity, and I get a lot of referrals, and I need somebody that can keep up with that. And if they can't, then I need a number 2.
As well as having like a lender that you can call on odd hours occasionally, as well as a lender that can speak well enough to calm down an irrational fear that a buyer might have. Oh my God, these are the highest rates and I can't do it. Let the lender who is skilled in this educate the buyer as opposed to you maybe getting,
Right.
getting the ball halfway there. I always have lenders. Always would have a lender at my open house.
Yeah, and then the other piece too is brushing up on the home buying process, really understanding your buyer consultation, which I don't know if you guys have taken buyer consult class yet, but it's a great time to educate people, right? Like if you have someone who's walking through the door of your open house that has never purchased a home before, ask them, hey, has anybody gone through with you what to expect during the home buying process? And you can I've used that time where they're the only person in the house as a buyer's consultation. And by the end of that, we're working together. I would say almost every open house I've done, if they are unrepresented, by the end of that open house, if I've been able to connect with them, they're my clients. For the first year in real estate and going into my second year, I had probably half of all of my closed sales were open house clients. And I still am working with people that I met at an open house 2 years ago. So it is an awesome way for you to capture leads and to just have conversations without having to cold call somebody or reach out to someone who I know one of the things that they push on you when you're a new agent is, talk to all your friends and family, find if there's any opportunities. And because I've been in sales for as long as I have, and everybody in my family and friends know that I'm a salesperson and I've tried different things, it didn't feel to me personally, it didn't feel like they were gonna, trust me. That was like a limiting belief of mine, like, oh, here's another thing that Erin's gonna do in sales. Yep, okay. I sold insurance, I worked in education, I sold furniture, I did gym memberships, I did all this stuff. And so it just, in the beginning of my career, just felt like another thing I was doing. And so I didn't really want to go after my friends and family. I wanted to build up my knowledge and experience somewhere else. And so that's what open houses were for me. It was a way for me to just, these people walking in the door had no idea if it was my first open house or my 100th open house. I was prepared. I was ready to go. They walk in and it was go time for me. And it was such an easy way for me to gain confidence as an agent. And I would highly encourage you to do the same. And if they walk out the door and I totally bombed it, who cares? Because tomorrow I'm going to do another open house and more people are going to walk in and I'll have a chance to meet them too. The next one I think is, if we go to the next slide, prospect. Yep. So if you've read the MREA, then you've heard of leads, listings, and leverage. Open houses are all about leads, leads, leads. An open house is a great prospecting tool that requires mostly time as an investment, like we've discussed. Let's look at some of the ways that you can use an open house to prospect for leads. Building trust and rapport is the first one. An important part of the open house is to build the trust and rapport with the foot traffic that visits the house. And there are a lot of ways that you can do that. If we want to go to the next slide, I think the build trust and rapport slide. Cool. So we want to greet every customer that comes in the door. You can say things like, what brought you in today? Are you looking for a home in this neighborhood? Have you been looking at other houses? Would you like to know more about the market or neighborhood? What do you like about this house that I may share with others? These are just some questions that you could ask throughout your conversation and dealings with the client. But, you got to have something, right? So people don't walk into my open house and I don't say anything. I'm engaging with them. I'm talking to everybody. I'm figuring out how to triage, there's 10 people that just walked in. How do I make sure I have a touch point with everyone? For me, that's why I love the sign-in sheets, because it keeps someone busy if I have to talk to this person over here. And also why I have a follow-up feedback form that they need to hand back to me when they're done. And I tell them that if I don't have a clipboard, I say, hey, sign in. And then when I send them on their way to check out the house, I say, by the way, when you're done, can you please just stop back here? Because I do have a feedback form that I would love for you to fill out for the sellers so I can share the feedback with them on the property. And then they come back, and if I'm talking to someone when they come back to the counter to see me, then I can hand them the form. Hey, excuse me 1 second. Thank you so much for filling that out. I'll be right with you. And then I try to wrap up my conversation over here and I grab the form. Obviously, using the time at the open house to engage in conversation is great. But if you have rapid fire people coming through the door, capture their data and get back to them afterwards, right? That's what the follow-up conversation is for. But you want them to remember you, and you want to find a way to remember them. So again, another reason why I like the individual forms is that when people walk out of the door, I flip the page over and I take my notes that I learned about them so that when I call them, I have something to talk to them about. I can't take notes on a long sign-in sheet where everybody else is writing on. So I personally like that individual page. And if you want to save paper, make them smaller. Mine's a full page, but you can do like little half pages or something. Yeah, so be positive, upbeat. Remember that clients are thinking about their futures and lifestyles, and you can use those as conversation starters. Be a positive force in their imagination. Help them see themselves in that home. And then also, key tip, engage with kids. If kids walk in the door, don't just focus on the parents. Make sure that you say hi to the children as well. You want to make sure that you're meeting the clients where they are. And if the visitors don't seem interested in engaging with you, then match their energy and just let them be. Mirroring and matching both body language and energy levels is one of the best tools that you can learn as a salesperson. During an open house, it's also important to demonstrate and provide value. You can do this in several ways, and the most obvious way is to know your numbers. So when you get to the day of your open house, make sure that you know the stats of your team and your market center. Also make sure you know what your competition is, right? So if someone's walking, if you're at a 4-bed, 2-bath colonial, like Gary was saying, and there's another 4-bed, 2-bath colonial 2 streets over, and they're $50,000 difference in price, you better know why. And you have to be able to talk about that with people. Like, listen, the great thing about this house is that it's only $300,000, and 2 streets over, there's a 350 that looks almost identical, right? And so this is an opportunity for you to get into the neighborhood for a little bit less, and then make some updates to get to the higher price eventually if you ever want to sell the home. So knowing your market stats, how many days has the house been on the market? How does it compare to others with prices? How many homes are selling in the neighborhood and for what price? So, having an understanding of that, because that information is available to everybody that walks through the door. And most people don't come in with a bunch of stats. They just like the way the house looks, but you do get people that will walk in the door and say, well, why is this one priced at this when that one's priced at that, right? So it's important to just kind of get a feel of what's in the area. And then understanding personality types and conversion styles of different people. So if you are learning the DISC profile, really study that. That will help you tremendously when you're engaging with people. I can be a high D as a salesperson, but I don't need to be the high D in the room with another high D. Like, I totally can step back and let them think they're leading the show, and I know how to sell that personality style. And so you should study those. And then like I said, the mirroring and matching. Are you engaging with them when they walk in the door? How are they engaging back with you? Do they seem open to you? Do they seem closed off? You want to be paying attention to all of that stuff. So what are some things that you're able to offer visitors when they come into your open house? You want to be thinking about the value that you're providing to them. Gary, do you want to add anything?
No, what I try to do is I also have a generic home buying guide that you can create in, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having an allergy attack, that you can create in Command, and it's like a generic book that's pretty much all done, and you could pop some stuff into your own information. And I like to give that out, not to everybody, but if I have a conversation with somebody, I let them walk out with a generic book on the home buying process. What is the steps? What is about me? What is about our company? So this way they get to leave with that.
Yes.
But I don't and they're multiple pages, so I don't give them to everybody. You know, I kind of keep like a separate pile. And then if I've had a good conversation, I give that to the people. And then also I try to write down whatever questions they may have. And I like to follow up with their answers as quick as I can. So this way you kind of lead yourself a little different than everybody else. And what's a really cool way is if you have their phone number, you can send them a video text message of your answer. You don't have to talk to them. You can just make your video and then send it as a text message. Hey, Bob, it was great meeting you today. You asked about the lot line. What I just found out was blah, blah, blah. You know, I wanted to get it right to you. Talk about it.
Yep.
And nobody ever does it. And it's really kind of cool. People love that.
Videos are certainly becoming more popular. So that's a fun way to engage with people. Could you go to the next slide real quick? I want to be mindful of time, and I want to finish up things, and I want to run down the questions that we have and make sure that we answered everything. But the next thing is, what do you do once you capture the lead? All right. And I wanted to touch on that before we end the session, which is, you know, so you've had the sign-in sheet, or you did the QR code. If you're not capturing the lead that goes directly into your command, you want to make sure that you're adding them. So one of the reasons I bring my computer is that if there's downtime in between each appointment, I'm doing this as soon as they leave. Okay. Or I make sure that when I'm time blocking my open house, I have prep time and I have time to follow up afterwards. And so sometimes what I do, if I have a relationship with the seller, I tell the seller I need them gone for 4 hours. I need you to be gone the hour before, because I'll be here sometime, you know, like a half an hour before to prepare and do my thing. And I don't want them there because I don't want to spend my time talking to them when I need to focus on my job. And then I tell them not to come back for an hour afterwards, because number one, people may linger. You know, maybe someone shows up right at the end of the open house and I want to catch them up and get them to go. And then if I time block that, then I sit in their kitchen and I type in my notes and my leads while they're fresh in my head, instead of leaving to go and, you know, go on my day, because then it could be 24 hours before I get around to doing it. So that's what I do. And it helps me. So if you want to do a shorter open house, like an hour, hour and a half, so that you're not spending, you know, all this time doing that, that's fine. But it is good to make sure somewhere that you've time blocked that schedule to that time to follow up. So after the open house, I use a open house smart plan, and what it does is it sends a text, or you can it tells you to text. You can manually do it yourself, whatever that looks like for you, but you should follow up with hey, it was so nice to meet you today. Just want to make sure you have my contact information. And let me know. I know this sounds like it wasn't the right house for you, but let me know if anything changes, and I'll keep you posted with any updates on the price reduction or something, whatever your message that you want, depending on your conversation with that person. I always set every single person up, unless it's a very clear they're working with an agent and it's not crap and they really have they have a signed agreement with somebody. I'm setting them up on a MLS search alert, so that, I do it based off of that house they looked at. So I do that town and surrounding towns, just everything touching that town. If you know your areas, or if it's a big area, just that one space, and then general price range plus or minus 25 to 50,000, depending on the price of the house. And then that's it. I don't do anything else. I don't set bedrooms, bathrooms, unless they specifically told me in our conversations. And I can't tell you how many times, many times, that I will 6 months later get this random email from somebody saying, hey, can we go look at this? And I'm like, who the hell is this person? Oh, it was a random MLS search alert I set off of an open house, and I haven't talked to them in 6 months. But guess what? Now they want to go look at a house, because you have no idea where that person is in the buying process. And a lot of people show up to an open house because they don't want to bother an agent, because they're not very actively looking for a house. This was just potentially a house that would make them move, right? I was in that category for 10 years before I bought a house. So you never know when you're going to capture that person, but you have to find a way to stay engaged with them. Set them up on a smart plan, put them in your database, get them on some kind of nurture campaign, and let them tell you to leave you alone. Otherwise, you're going to assume they need help. Okay. So you have to have a follow-up system for after you capture those leads. And 24 hours for me, I send a text the same day, and then the next day, or within the next 2 days, depending on the day of the week I do the open house, I am calling them and I'm, trying to connect again with them. Hey, it was such a pleasure meeting you. I'm looking forward to helping you if there's anything that I can do. I know that wasn't the right house for you, but I forgot to ask you when we were together, like, what is important to you in a house? Because I would love to be of service, like whatever that script is based on your conversation. Okay. But you have to do the follow-up. Otherwise it was a waste of your time and you're not going to get the return on that investment. So, I do have to stop at 12. Gary, if you have time to finish up the last part of it, which is setting them up for the, the next steps, you guys have your participant guides. And at the end of this, it's really, doing your lead generation steps. But I want to run through this list of questions. So the easiest way to get contact info from people, I feel like we gave you guys a lot of options to generate contact information from these prospective buyers that are walking through the door. If anybody feels like you don't have tools for that, please raise your hand while I go on to the next question and we can come back to that. How to prepare for an open house. Feel like we went through a lot of that. Hopefully you guys learned some good tips today. Again, raise your hand if you feel like you didn't get tools for that today and we'll address it. How to deal with hesitancy. I don't remember the context around that, but I think it was around, let's see, this was maybe group 2 or 3 that asked this question. So if we didn't answer that, again, I'm sorry, I didn't write down the context to that question and I wasn't sure if it was hesitancy for filling out a form, maybe. But if that's the case, I feel like we covered that today. Best marketing practices for the open house. Online, post on social media, tell people, hey, I'm conducting an open house. There's all kinds of cool things in Command that you can use. You can use Canva. I always post open houses, hey, come visit me on this day. And then again, the day before, hey, come visit me, I'm doing an open house. And then the day of the open house, I also post it. And I also do, one of the first things I do and why I get to an open house early is that I do a video tour and I post that like, hey, I'm conducting an open house today at 123 Main Street. Here's, check it out. And I do the online video tour because if someone's going to come, they're already planning to come, right? They're not just going to get in their car and come and see the house because they saw it right then and there. But I do want to provide the virtual open house because someone may be interested in buying it. So I'm doing the in-person one and I'm doing a virtual one. And you should do Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do those 3 on all of my social posting. How to talk to people who already have an agent. We did touch on that, but I think it's planting the seed that maybe that agent's not the right agent for them in a tactful way. If they're signed, truly signed, you're going to know it, right? Like they're going to walk in, I'm telling you, if they're working with a good agent, they're going to walk in the door and say, where do we sign in? Our agent told us to put their name down. I instruct all of my clients, if you're working with buyers, hey, when you go to the open house, the agent who's conducting the open house is going to have you sign in because you're required to. Please let them know that you're working with me. You can put my name and phone number down on the sign-in sheet with your contact, alongside your name, and just make it clear to the agent that you're working with me so that, they don't bother you. You can check out the house and then I can provide the feedback. And finding open houses, how to get leads. Yeah, I think we covered all the questions. Is there anything that anybody has before we wrap up that you want to ask a burning question about? All right, cool. I feel like Gary and I did a good job. Where can we access List Report? Oh, it's a website, listreports.com. And you can generate all kinds of stuff, open house flyers, You can generate door hangers and social posts and all kinds of neat things. You should check it out. I think we might get it for free in our market center. I don't know how. I just started using it and I don't think I pay anything for it.
What's it called again, please?
Listreports.com.
Oh, that one. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can also use it for your own listings as well to create some marketing material for your open houses. So I do have to log off because I have to go get to an appointment. Gary, would you mind just getting them off on the success system next steps?
Sure, we're almost done anyway. So,
Cool. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Nice to meet all of you, and reach out if you need anything. Bye.
Thank you.
hopefully she will not disconnect us.
No, I think I clicked the wrong button. Hold on. I don't know how to do this. Can I leave?
Bye, you get out.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna mute myself and stop the video.
What questions do you guys have? I mean, I think we pretty much went over everything. The only thing I wanted to mention was when you do an open house for somebody else, first of all, it should be somebody within your own market center. And then the best way, like I said in the beginning, was to agree ahead of time. What are you doing with the leads? So what I typically do is, as a win for the listing agent, I say, everybody that has a listing, that has an agent, I'm going to give you their name, their phone number, and who their agent is at the end of the day. And I'm going to keep all of the non-represented. That typically works the best. You're helping the listing agent by giving them the people that came that have agents. So that listing agent can go ahead and call the other agents, as well as you have a smaller, more viable list. So that was the only other thing I was going to add. Anybody have any other questions? Well, that being said, I would suggest y'all get familiar with MLS and look at the statistics you can pull from there, so you can become like an economist of choice. And secondly, reach out to your market center tech trainer, your MCTT, and ask them if they can make an appointment with you to show you how to do a landing page or how to incorporate leads directly into Command. We all pay
What
for
was that
Command.
person's title again?
I'm sorry?
What was the person you were saying to get to?
MCTT, Market Center Tech Trainer.
Oh, okay.
Most offices may have one, or they may share one. There's a regional. I know Brooke Burke, is that her last name? No, Brooke Silva is the New England one, so she could probably help as well. But most centers have them.
I had a question I saw on the list, it said to give them the KW app.
Mm-hmm.
How can we, who do I call actually to stop? I sent it out to people, they never signed in, but they're using the app. So I want to stop them from using the app so that it forces them to sign in.
So that would be right. That would be your tech person. And what they'll help you do is like have a fail safe where it says the first question or the first search is quote unquote free. And then to move on, they need to sign in. That's a setting. I couldn't help you with the setting, but there's a setting for that.
Okay. So I'll just call. Thank you. I just didn't know who to contact.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, good luck. You guys have your next things that you're supposed to do. Obviously, your conversations, your contacts added, handwritten notes, social media. It only doesn't have to be your own stuff you're posting. You can comment on others, like others, get yourself out there. KW Referral Network is a great Facebook page to belong to, because you never know where somebody's going to be looking for somebody that you fit.
You said KW Referrals?
KW Referral Network. It's a Facebook group. I mean, I'm sure there's like other stuff for younger people, like Instagram groups or whatever, but I'm old, so Facebook.
Thank you.
Come on, you must have a Discord server out there.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing. I'm gonna give you everybody my work email. If anybody has a question, there you go. That's my email. I do check emails really often. If I'm not with another client or another agent, be more than happy to answer anything for you guys. It's in the chat. And aside from that, I think we're done.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Have a good day, y'all.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.